Chapter 876. In the mystic moon ancient city, a great battle was taking place. Chu Kuangren made his move. With every step he took, he would kill, and with each kill, he would compose a poem. The poetic sword saint's technique had completely shocked everyone present. Meanwhile, the Purple Star Heavenly Masters were being held back by the other Heavenly Masters, so they could not attack Chu Kuangren. As for the other Heavenly Masters, they were not even worth mentioning in front of Chu Kuangren. Just as the Purple Star cultivators were in a dilemma, a tyrannical aura erupted from the Purple Star camp and swept out mightily. When everyone looked towards the source of the aura, their eyes lit up. "It's Your Highness." Purple Stars Sequence 1, Zi Shao. Everyone's eyes lit up. The person who emanated the powerful aura was none other than the strongest cultivator of the Purple Star Sage Seed, Zi Shao. Poetic Sword Saint, Chu Kuangren. A deep voice rang out. Zi Shao stared at Chu Kuangren with a strong battle intent in his eyes. Chu Kuangren looked at him and said, "When I was sleeping, I felt like someone was yelling in my ear." "Was that you?" "Humph, I'm surprised by your strength." Zi Shao snorted coldly. Then, purple light circulated around his body, and a purple armor covered his body. It was a defensive heavenly weapon. "That's the Purple Star Heavenly Armor." The Purple Star Sequence 3, Zi Feng, narrowed his eyes. The Purple Star Heavenly Armor was one of the strongest defensive Taoist weapons in the Purple Star tribe. Even the Heavenly Master would have a hard time breaking it. After summoning the heavenly armor, Zi Shao took out a dark purple longsword. There were patterns on the blade that formed the silhouette of a dragon. The purple dragon saber is an offensive Taoist weapon paired with the heavenly armor. This is also a heavenly weapon. It seems like he feels threatened by the fact that he has two heavenly weapons in one go. Zi Feng said solemnly. In fact, Chu Kuangren's strength was much stronger than a Sequence 2, so it was hard for Zi Shao not to feel threatened. With two heavenly weapons in hand, Zi Shao's aura instantly skyrocketed. "Chu Kuangren, I became a great Taoist lord 500 years ago. Since then, no one under the Heavenly Master has been able to hurt me except for the Golden Star Sequence 1. Let me see if you can do it." Zi Shao said coldly. Although Chu Kuangren's self-created immortal technique had shocked him greatly, Chu Kuangren was only a late-stage Taoist master in terms of cultivation level, which was similar to his own. Hence, he was confident that he could deal with Chu Kuangren. "Ha, you're clearly so weak. Where does your confidence come from?" Chu Kuangren shook his head and smiled. "Take this." Zi Shao took a step forward and slashed with the long saber in her hand. All of a sudden, a majestic surge of saber chi gushed out from the blade and intertwined with the Taoist patterns before it transformed into a purple dragon shadow that charged towards Chu Kuangren. Useless move. Chu Kuangren casually swung his sword. The ultimate emperor energy erupted, and the sword energy tore the dragon shadow apart. Then, his body disappeared on the spot and reappeared in front of Zi Shao. The descendant self-sword in his hand slashed out with a brilliant sword light. Zi Shao raised his saber to block. Clang! The sound of golden jade rang out, and a powerful chi swept out. Zi Shao only felt an indescribably powerful force sweeping towards him, and his entire body was involuntarily sent flying backward. Such powerful strength! Zi Shao felt that his entire arm was numb. If not for the God's strength armor's protection, it was not impossible for his arm to be torn apart by that powerful force. Whoosh, Chu Kuangren's figure flashed again. He came to the sky above Zi Shao and smashed his fist down. Boom! His fist landed on the God's strength armor. The power that was enough to destroy a star made the heavenly Tao weapon tremble continuously. Although Zi Shao did not receive the full brunt of the punch, the powerful recoil was still shaking his internal organs. After that punch, Chu Kuangren grabbed Zi Shao's arm and tossed him into the air. Then, his figure flashed, and his fists and legs landed on Zi Shao's body, from left to right, and then above. The crowd was dumbfounded. The dignified Purple Star Sequence 1 was like a helpless child in front of Chu Kuangren. The difference in strength was too great. Chu Kuangren came to the sky above Zi Shao and kicked him. Boom! Zi Shao smashed onto the ground like a meteor. With a loud explosion, the entire Mystic Moon ancient city shook, forming a huge crater. Zi Shao lay in the crater, coughing out blood continuously. The indestructible god's strength armor on his body had a few cracks. His hair was disheveled, and he looked extremely pathetic. An unprecedented sense of humiliation engulfed him. Ever since he became a Taoist master, this was the first time he was in such a sorry state. Even the sequence 1 from Venus did not injure him this badly. Moreover, he was completely suppressed. He was brutally tortured. The turtle shell on your body is quite hard. Chu Kuangren slowly landed on the ground. He chuckled. However, you're weaker than I thought. None of the purple star sequence ones are decent. He looked at the other sequence ones who were watching the battle from afar. Why don't you guys come at me together? I can finish you all off in one go. Upon hearing that, the other sequence ones trembled and quickly took a few steps back. They had lost the courage to fight Chu Kuangren. The difference in strength was too great. Chu Kuangren, I must kill you. Kill you. At that moment, Zi Shao slowly stood up from the crater. He stared at Chu Kuangren with intense hatred in his purple pupils. Celestial River Apocalypse. Zi Shao growled and activated his immortal technique. The starlight around him surged towards him. With a lift of his hand, a dazzling celestial river filled with domineering aura surged towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren casually threw out a punch. Invincible technique, heaven and earth reversal. Boom! When the two powerful forces collided, the surrounding void immediately exploded. The starlight shattered, and the majestic fist energy landed on Zi Shao's body. Once again, he was blasted away with blood spewing out of his mouth. In terms of immortal techniques, he was completely crushed by Chu Kuangren. No, no! Ah! Zi Shao roared. As the Purple Star Sequence 1, he was a proud person. Yet now, he was beaten to such a state in front of everyone. His pride was completely trampled under Chu Kuangren's feet. Take this. Purple Star Divine Gaze. Zi Shao leaped into the air, and an even more powerful immortal technique fluctuation emanated from his body. His eyes radiated a brilliant purple light. Zi Feng and the other immortal seeds could not help but exclaim. That's the Purple Star Divine Gaze. Purple Star's strongest immortal technique. In the history of Purple Star, only a few people managed to cultivate the Purple Star Divine Gaze. He's the Sequence 1 too. The immortal technique fluctuation on Zi Shao's body grew stronger. The purple light that surged in his eyes was as dazzling as the stars. Go! The purple light in Zi Shao's eyes condensed to its limit. Suddenly, a beam of purple light shot out. Wherever the purple light passed, the void shattered, and the phenomenon of falling stars was reflected. Even the Lord of the Heaven Law felt his heart palpitate when he sensed such a powerful aura. With a single thought, 10,000 rivers of ice and snow. An extremely powerful fluctuation erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. Cold chi swept across and froze the void. That was not an ordinary cold chi. It was the cold chi that erupted from the lunar immortal physique. Using an immortal physique to activate an immortal technique. The horrifying cold chi erupted and condensed into an ice mountain that smashed out. When the purple light landed on the ice mountain, it was corroded by the cold chi and was easily frozen. Then, it was easily shattered by the ice mountain. The Sky Path Lord's pupils shrank when they saw that. Immortal Physique. Chapter 877. The iceberg smashed through the purple light emitted by the Purple Star Divine Eyes and directly crashed into Zi Shao, completely shattering his pride. With a boom, the divine spear armor shattered. The indestructible heavenly Tao weapon could no longer withstand Chu Kuangren's continuous attacks and shattered into pieces on the ground. Purple Firmament's body was almost completely frozen by the frost chi. The group of heavenly Tao masters looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. Their senses were not wrong. Chu Kuangren's body had indeed exploded with the fluctuations of an immortal physique. He has an immortal physique. Purple Firmament Heavenly Protector said in shock. It's a frost attribute immortal physique. Could it be that he specializes in frost Taoism? What a terrifying frost chi. No wonder he's so powerful. He has an immortal physique. Immortal physiques were too rare in the Purple Gold Galaxy. In the history of all the known civilizations in the Purple Gold Galaxy, there were not many immortal physiques. Even the current Purple Star and Golden Star sequences did not have an immortal physique. Compared to the other Heavenly Tao Masters, the Divine Moon Taoist Master was even more shocked. Was that not Hai Tang's lunar divine physique? How could it be? How could Brother Chu have Hai Tang's lunar divine physique? The Divine Moon Taoist Master was dumbfounded. Chu Kuangren had given him too many surprises. Break! At that moment, a low roar came from the sky. The Wang family's elder had finally shattered the Divine Moon Taoist Master's sword chi cage. He then looked at Chu Kuangren with a fiery gaze. Taoist seal, immortal physique, young lad, I'll be taking your opportunity of fortune. The combat strength and talent that Chu Kuangren had displayed were too unbelievable. No one would believe that he did not have any opportunity of fortune or secret. Perhaps this opportunity of fortune could help one become an immortal. At that thought, the Wang family's elder was extremely excited. Do you think you can covet my secrets? Chu Kuangren sneered. With a thought, a golden red lotus appeared in his hand. The fire that formed the lotus was not an ordinary flame. It was the phoenix flame. Its flames were on the same level as Chu Kuangren's immortal physique. In fact, the godly phoenix physique was even more advanced than the lunar divine physique. The fire lotus shot out, burning the entire void. The Wang family's old ancestor punched out with his palm and two terrifying forces exploded. The Wang family's old ancestor was forced back tens of feet by the heat wave. Everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes. Chu Kuangren had forced the Heavenly Tao Master to retreat. He could actually fight against the Master of the Heaven Tao. This guy can even use Phoenix Fire. The patriarch of the Wang family narrowed his eyes. Then, he looked at Chu Kuangren with an even more fervent gaze. First an immortal physique, now a phoenix flame. Your opportunities of fortune and secrets are mine. You have to be alive to get it. Do you really think you can fight against the Master of Heaven Law? Wang family ancestor snorted coldly. He channeled his emperor's chi to its limit, and the majestic aura of a heavenly Tao master instantly erupted and charged towards Chu Kuangren. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren channeled his mind power. In the void, a huge, rainbow-colored rune gathered. 9 rainbow-colored dragons soared into the sky and surged into his body, causing his aura to rise explosively. He actually rose to the peak of the Great Tao Lord level in a single go. Tao integration. Chu Kuangren shouted. The heavenly energy hidden in his body also erupted. The heavenly energy surged. His aura rose once again. With the Divine 9 Dragons transformation and the heavenly energy, Chu Kuangren's current cultivation level was infinitely close to the Master of the Heaven Tao. His combat strength was even more unimaginable. Old man, you've lived for so long. You should be tired of living. Today, I'll send you on your way. Chu Kuangren said coldly. His figure flashed and instantly disappeared. The Wang family ancestor keenly sensed a spatial fluctuation behind him, so he turned around and launched a palm attack. That palm attack landed on the blade of a longsword. A powerful surge of energy swept over and hit the Wang family ancestor's arm, causing him to let out a cry of pain. He could feel it. That surge of energy contained more than just Emperor's chi. It also contained his mind power and physical strength. Emperor's chi, mind power, physical strength, and triple combat strength. Even someone as powerful as the Master of the Heaven Tao could not help but be sent flying. D***MNIT. Tyrannical army shattering palm. The Wang family ancestor was extremely furious. He channeled his emperor's qi and launched a palm attack. The Taoist and emperor's qi intertwined to form a huge black palm. Honorable Emperor Sword Art, dominator of the universe. Immortal technique fluctuations erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. Behind him, a powerful emperor avatar formed. Thousands of sword qi surged in the avatar's palm and formed into a golden sword shadow. Then, it slashed at the Wang family ancestor. The black palm and golden sword qi collided. The palm was shattered. The Wang family ancestor was blasted away by the sword qi, and his body was left with several bloody sword wounds. Everyone's jaws dropped as they looked at the scene in disbelief. Chu Kuangren had overpowered the heavenly Tao master. Oh my god, am I blind? I can't believe this actually happened. The difference between a great Tao master and a heavenly Tao master is as big as a chasm. But now, Chu Kuangren has overpowered the heavenly Tao master as a great Tao master. Also, there are heavenly Tao fluctuations on him. He's even a celestial lord recognized by the heavenly Tao. Countless people were discussing. In this battle, Chu Kuangren had completely displayed combat strength that surpassed the scope of a sky pride. The Wang family ancestor looked at Chu Kuangren with his eyes trembling. A threat. An unprecedented threat of death. The Wang family ancestor gulped. He could sense a strong threat of death from the young man in front of him. Old man, aren't you the heavenly Tao master? Didn't you want the opportunity of fortune and secret on me? Why, are you afraid now? Chu Kuangren walked towards the Wang family ancestor as his aura continued to rise. With a twist of his sword qi surged out again. D*mn. The Wang family ancestor gritted his teeth and roared. He attacked the sword qi with his palm, but he was still blasted a few hundred meters away. Quick, help me. The Wang family ancestor shouted at the purple star cultivators. However, everyone had long been frightened by Chu Kuangren's strength. They could not wait to hide from him, so they did not have the courage to fight him. Die, old man. Chu Kuangren channeled his emperor's qi and mind power to their limits, and the ultimate reversal technique was unleashed. In an instant, the sun and moon were reversed, and the heavenly Tao master was thrown into disorder. A majestic fist qi enveloped the Wang family ancestor. No matter how hard he tried to resist, his body was blasted into a mist of blood. Chu Kuangren had almost crushed and killed a heavenly Tao master. And you? Chu Kuangren looked at the purple firmaments. The purple firmaments could not help but shudder, and a look of horror appeared in his eyes. In the face of death, the dignity of being the number one purple firmament sequence cultivator and his immortal seed status were all useless. He wanted to run away. However, his body was so stiff that it was hard for him to move. At that moment, the battleships in the sky began to glow with Taoist patterns, and countless cannons were aimed at Chu Kuangren. Fire! The third sequence cultivator, Zifeng, roared. Energy beams shot out continuously. Idiot! Chu Kuangren gently raised his hand. A ripple appeared in the space around him. Countless energy beams disappeared in the air before him, and then rained down from the battleships like raindrops. Spatial conveyor technique. One by one, the battleships suffered the consequences of their own actions and exploded. However, that was not the end. As Chu Kuangren raised his hand, spiritual qi gathered and turned into countless weapons in the blink of an eye, aimed at the battleships and the purple firmaments. With a single thought, 10,000 weapons created a disaster. The weapons shot out, and wherever they passed, it was as if the Grim Reaper had passed through. Countless battleships exploded like fireworks, and cultivators fell one after another. Even the purple firmaments could not escape. Chapter 878. As the thousands of soldiers passed through, the battleships exploded one after another. One by one, the purple star cultivators fell. With the purple star's sky lord being held back, and the Wang family's forefather being killed by Chu Kuangren, no one could stop him now. Today, those who wish to kill me, I shall kill them all. Chu Quanren said coldly as his murderous intent poured out like a torrent. He glanced at Zi Shao, who was not far away. He raised his hand and condensed a spiritual weapon before shooting it towards his opponent. The weapon pierced through the void. Zi Zhao's pupils shrank as an unprecedented threat of death loomed over him. However, at that moment, a ray of purple light shone from his body. The purple light turned into a light barrier and repelled the spiritual weapon. A figure walked out from the light barrier. It was Palace Lord Ziwei. Palace Lord. No, this is a clone of the Palace Lord. This is a clone that the Palace Lord left on your highness. It was refined by the Palace Lord with many materials, so it has at least the strength of a Sky Lord. This is great. Chu Quanren is dead for sure. The Purple Star cultivators were overjoyed. A Sky Lord was much stronger than the Wang family's forefather. Not to mention, this person was Palace Lord Ziwei. After all, he had an immortal technique in his hands. Chu Quanren, the Palace Lord is here. Why aren't you bowing down? Zi Shao felt a surge of confidence when he saw Palace Lord Ziwei. It's just a clone. Do you really think it can stop me from killing you? Chu Quanren said indifferently. Sword chi circulated around his body and locked onto Palace Lord Ziwei. Palace Lord Ziwei stared back at him with a horrifying expression as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. B** starred. How dare you make the Purple Star suffer such heavy losses? Chu Quanren could not help but laugh when he heard that, but it was soon replaced by a cold expression. You guys tried to kill me, and now you're blaming me for causing heavy losses? Palace Lord Ziwei, you must be out of your mind. Chu Quanren had always adhered to the principle of not offending others if they did not offend him. However, once he was angered, he would return the favor tenfold. The Purple Star's actions had completely infuriated him. Especially when the other party had the guts to send Guardian Huang to Firmament Star to destroy his civilization. How could he tolerate that? Today, I will not only make you suffer heavy casualties. One day, I will personally visit Purple Star and let your Purple Star have a taste of what it feels like to have your civilization destroyed. Chu Quanren's voice reverberated through the clouds and shook the starry sky. When the surrounding cultivators heard this, they were all shocked. Chu Quanren was issuing a challenge to Purple Star. Purple Star wanted to kill him. He wanted to destroy the entire Purple Star. He planned to fight the entire civilization on his own. Does he really have a way to do this? Everyone was in a daze. Hall Master Ziwei's eyes were blazing with anger. Purple Star was the second most powerful civilization in the Purple Gold Galaxy. In the entire galaxy, there were not many who dared to provoke them. Not to mention publicly issuing a challenge to them. And a young cultivator at that. Such a thing had never happened since ancient times. Hall Master Ziwei was enraged, and her aura became more and more violent. Chu Quanren, we can wait for another day. Today, I shall bury you here. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and gathered starlight that filled the sky. A giant starlight sword was formed and slashed towards Chu Quanren. The awe-inspiring sword might shook the entire Mystic Moon ancient city. Chu Quanren did not retreat nor evade. His mind power and Emperor's chi erupted at the same time. Honorable Emperor Sword Art, sole dominator of the universe. The Emperor's avatar was formed. Thousands of sword chi gathered to form a golden sword shadow that slashed out. Boom! Starlight Sword, Emperor's Sword. The two sword silhouettes collided with each other and the resulting shockwave sent the surrounding cultivators flying, causing them to fall to the ground in a daze. Chu Quanren and Hall Master Ziwei were both pushed back from the collision. However, it was not over yet. With a single thought, 10,000 blade disaster. Tens of thousands of spiritual power blades gathered and locked onto Hall Master Ziwei. Bang bang bang. The blades were unleashed one after another. Hall Master Ziwei let out a cold roar. Galactic apocalypse. Immortal technique fluctuations spread. A Milky Way that stretched for tens of thousands of miles surrounded his body, blocking the thousands of incoming attacks before it smashed towards Chu Kuangren. With a single thought, 10,000 snowy rivers. His immortal physique activated his immortal technique. A terrifying chill instantly erupted and turned into a giant iceberg. Amidst the explosion, the galactic river froze. An unparalleled chill swept back, causing Hall Master Ziwei's pupils to shrink. Immortal physique. He activated his Emperor's Qi and unleashed another attack, shattering the iceberg. However, the powerful force still sent him flying hundreds of meters away. This person must die today. Otherwise, there will never be a day of peace for Purple Star. Hall Master Ziwei's eyes surged with murderous intent. He let out a long roar, and endless starlight gathered towards him. Streams of galactic river appeared in the void, and the surging starlight energy caused the void to collapse. Come! Chu Kuangren yelled. Emperor's Qi, mind power, and mystical Taoist patterns flowed on the surface of his body. A terrifying immortal technique fluctuation spread from his body. Go! Hall Master Ziwei waved his hand. Instantly, streams of galactic river smashed towards Chu Kuangren. The galactic river flowed in the void, interweaving into an extremely beautiful scene. However, its terrifying power made everyone's heart palpitate. Chu Kuangren stood still in the face of such power. All of a sudden, the surrounding wind stopped, and the clouds stopped. It fell into a strange silence. Chu Kuangren suddenly opened his eyes, which were filled with a brilliant light. With a single thought, all shall be silent, and the heavens and earth shall perish. A purplish-red light wave that was a mixture of Taoist patterns, Emperor's Qi, mind power, immortal physique chilling Qi, and godly phoenix fire spread out in circles. Wherever the light wave went, the void was shattered. Streams of galactic river and light wave clashed together. The rumbling sounds were endless. Every time the galactic river and light wave collided, the void would collapse, and the entire Mystic Moon ancient city would tremble. After the collision, half of the Mystic Moon ancient city was in ruins. Chu Kuangren and Hall Master Ziwei were the first to bear the brunt of the impact. Affected by the energy impact, they were both pushed back. Chu Kuangren's physical body was extremely strong, so the impact did not affect him much. However, Hall Master Ziwei did not feel good. His face was pale, and blood was dripping from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Chu Kuangren with shock. What a powerful force! Is this enough to shock you? Chu Kuangren sneered. His figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. In the next instant, he appeared in front of Hall Master Ziwei. With the Descendant Self sword in his hand, he immediately suppressed Hall Master Ziwei. Chu Kuangren unleashed all kinds of techniques. At his current cultivation realm, any one of them was extremely powerful. With a single thought, he unleashed the invincible technique, Honorable Emperor Sword Art, Heavenly Reversal. Chu Kuangren unleashed a sword attack, and the invincible technique's power erupted. Hall Master Ziwei was sent flying by the sword attack. Purple Star Divine Gaze. Hall Master Ziwei let out a cold roar, and a dazzling purple light radiated from his eyes. Purple Star's strongest immortal technique, unleashed. Time halt. Just as the immortal technique was about to be unleashed, a burst of mysterious energy suddenly erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. It was a divine ability. A temporal divine ability. The purple light in Hall Master Ziwei's eyes froze for a moment. The next moment, Chu Kuangren appeared in front of him and unleashed the Descendant Self sword. His sword was unleashed, and a bloody light shone. Hall Master Ziwei's clone had fallen. Far away in Purple Star. Inside a palace, Hall Master Ziwei opened his eyes. Chu Kuangren. I must kill you. Chapter 879. Ancient Mystic Moon City. Chu Kuangren had killed Hall Master Ziwei's clone with a single slash of his sword. In the process, the temporal techniques that he had displayed had shocked many people. Time technique. How many trump cards does this guy have? It's too scary. Endless cultivation techniques and divine abilities. Just how does this guy cultivate? He's only 40 years old. The hearts of the purple star heavenly protectors, the black and white stars, and the others palpitated. After killing Hall Master Ziwei's clone, Chu Kuangren went up to the first sequence ruler, Purple Firmament, and with a single punch, he blew his opponent up. Purple Stars Sequence 1, dead. Go. Purple Star Heavenly Protector gritted his teeth and said. The combat strength that Chu Kuangren had displayed was so powerful that he could even kill a late-stage Heavenly Dao Master. Coupled with the Mystic Moon Daoist Master, Yang Xiao, and the others, the Purple Star cultivators were utterly defeated this time. There was no way they could kill Chu Kuangren. Right now, they could only retreat. You want to leave? Too naive. Chu Kuangren locked his gaze on the black and white stars. In a flash, he appeared in front of the two Sky Dao Masters and unleashed his Honorable Emperor Sword Art. The Dharma idol of the Emperor was condensing. The sword shadow in the Emperor's hand slashed down majestically. Bai Xing of the black and white twin stars shouted. Immediately after, waves of starlight gathered, transforming into a resplendent river of stars. However, this attack could not block the Emperor's sword. The Milky Way shattered. Bai Xing let out a blood-curdling scream as he was torn into two by the sword's shadow on the spot. The remaining black star could not help but let out a furious roar, his eyes almost popping out of his sockets. I'll fight you to the death. Black Star glared at Chu Kuangren furiously. In his rage, he channeled his Emperor's chi to its limit, and countless mysterious Daoist patterns appeared on his body. Dao patterns circulated, and starlight gathered on his body. It was as if Black Star had transformed into an entire star as he charged towards Chu Kuangren. It was a suicidal technique. Let's die together. Meteor explosion. It was accompanied by a furious roar. As Black Star got closer to Chu Kuangren, his body began to expand. Boom. It was accompanied by an earth-shattering noise. The starry space, spanning a radius of tens of millions of li, was shaken at the same time. Large swathes of space collapsed and countless cultivators were killed by the shockwaves. The self-detonation of a heavenly law lord was extremely powerful. Countless cultivators were waiting at the center of the explosion. That guy should already be dead. The Purple Star cultivators couldn't help feeling a little expectant. However, when the smoke and dust gradually dispersed and the energy ripples weakened, everyone looked towards the center of the energy and saw an incomparably shocking scene. Within the smoke and dust, a white-clothed figure stood in the air, like an immortal that had descended to the world. It was Chu Kuangren. However, there were no injuries on his body at all. Even the self-destruction of a Lord of the Heaven Dao can't hurt him. How is this possible? No, that's impossible. How could this guy be so powerful? Not even the Heavenly Law Master's self-destruction could do anything to him. The Purple Star cultivators were filled with disbelief. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren, who was engulfed by the violent energy, patted his chest and said indifferently, self-destruct. He's just seeking his own death. The self-destruction of a Lord of the Heaven Law was indeed terrifying. Even though Chu Kuangren had the Heavenly Dao weapon as a buffer, he still suffered quite a bit of impact. However, this only caused the immortal stellar physique to suffer some minor injuries, which were healed by the immortal body in the next second. Monster, one of the Dao Lords could not help but gulp. Not bad. To them, Chu Kuangren was no different from a monster. What kind of sky pride immortal seed was this? How could he possess such strength at the age of 40? He was definitely a monster. Let's run. The Purple Star cultivators panicked and began to escape. When Chu Kuangren saw that, thousands of sword chi suddenly rained down from his body in all directions. The sword chi then transformed into many clones. The sword chi clones chased after the group of Purple Star cultivators. Wherever they went, it was as if the god of death had passed through, causing countless deaths and injuries. This massacre lasted for an entire day. Less than 1/10 of the Purple Star cultivators survived, and none of them knew how they managed to escape. It was too terrifying. They could not help but shudder at the thought of Chu Kuangren's face. From that day onward, Chu Kuangren would become their nightmare. As for the cultivators who were watching the battle, they swore that they would never forget what they had seen and heard today for the rest of their lives. One person could stop an army of 1,000. A single person had utterly routed the Purple Star cultivators. One person could dominate the entire galaxy. On the battlefield, Chu Kuangren's sword chi clones dissipated one by one. His aura also gradually weakened. After the 9 dragons' heavenly transformations effect wore off, he returned to the Tao Lord late stage. However, no one dared to underestimate him. That was because this Tao Lord had single-handedly killed 4 heavenly lords right in front of them. One of them was even a late-stage heavenly lord. "Brother Chu, how are you doing?" the God Moon Tao Lord asked. "Very well." Chu Kuangren chuckled. He looked at the Mystic Moon ancient city with an apologetic look in his eyes. "Brother Shen Moon, I'm sorry for dragging the Mystic Moon ancient city into this. Brother Chu, you don't have to say anything. It's just a city." The God Moon Tao Lord waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "Before the Purple Star army arrived, the cultivators in the city had either fled or hid. The only thing that was damaged was the city. We can just rebuild it." Chu Kuangren nodded. "Brother Shen Moon, don't worry. I'll return you an even more magnificent Mystic Moon ancient city." He looked into the distance with a cold gaze. "And to do that, I'll have to make the Purple Star bleed." Everyone could not help but feel a little fearful at his words. They remembered that Chu Kuangren had just issued a challenge to the Purple Star. "Brother Chu, do you really want to go to the Purple Star?" the God Moon Tao Lord asked. "That's right. The Purple Star has been causing me trouble time and time again. They even tried to destroy my firmament star. I must settle this score with them. The Purple Star has dominated the Purple Gold Galaxy for so many years. Their resources are extraordinary, and they even have a pseudo-immortal. Brother Chu, you may be strong now, but I'm afraid you're still no match for the Purple Star," the God Moon Tao Lord advised. To him, Chu Kuangren's current strength was already at the peak of the Purple Gold Galaxy. However, compared to a civilization with a rich heritage like the Purple Star, he was still lacking. "Brother Shen Moon, you don't have to worry. I know this very well. I didn't say that I'll go immediately. Before that, I'll leave the Mystic Moon ancient city for a while. I'll only act when the time is right," Chu Kuangren said calmly. He knew how dangerous and difficult it was to go against an entire civilization all by himself. He would not act rashly before he was confident. Then, Chu Kuangren looked at Yang Xiao and the others. "Everyone, I'll remember your help today." He cupped his fists and said, "Brother Chu, you're too kind. We're only here to return a favor to the pseudo-immortal mortal heaven." "That's right. Many years ago, Senior Mortal Heaven once forged a sword for me. I've finally returned this favor today. Now that I've returned the favor, my thoughts are clear. After I go back and go into closed-door meditation for a while, I'll definitely be able to break through my bottleneck." Everyone said one after another. "Brother Chu, now that the Purple Star's matter is almost settled, it's time for us to leave. If you're free, feel free to visit the Royal Heaven Sword sect. I'll be sure to welcome you with open arms." Yang Xiao smiled faintly. After that, he turned around and left. The others also left one after another. Chapter 880. The battle at Mystic Moon Ancient City was too exciting. That battle attracted the attention of countless forces and civilizations, and the name of poetic sword god Chu Kuangren was once again pushed to the forefront. Countless people were discussing it. Initially, no one thought that Chu Kuangren would be able to survive. After all, he was up against the Purple Star civilization. However, he had managed to survive. Not only that, but he had also caused the Purple Star sect to suffer heavy losses. Apart from the Wang family's grand ancestor and his clone, the Purple Star sect had suffered 3 casualties. The Black and White Double Stars, and Guardian Huang, who had died in Firmament Star. The Master of the Heavenly Law was the cornerstone of a civilization. How many Masters of the Heavenly Law could there be in a civilization? Even for a powerful civilization like the Purple Star, there were no more than 10 Heavenly Law Masters on the surface. But now, 3 of them had died. Not to mention the casualties of the other Tao Lords. In fact, even a first-rank immortal seed had died. In addition, the most important thing for Purple Star was face. The stronger and more famous a force was, the more importance it placed on its face, just like Purple Star. This time, they could not kill Chu Kuangren. Instead, they had fallen into his hands and were used as a stepping stone for him to make a name for himself in the galaxy. Purple Star's reputation had hit rock bottom. Compared to before, it was unknown how much his prestige had dropped. That was what the higher-ups of the Purple Star sect could not tolerate. After the battle at the Mystic Moon Ancient City, the Purple Star sect issued a kill order for Chu Kuangren. A bounty as high as 10 billion spiritual essence stones. Apart from that, there were also 2 Heaven Dao weapons, an immortal art, the position of a Purple Star guest elder, and many other great rewards. It could be said that whoever killed Chu Kuangren would have a meteoric rise. As soon as this bounty was issued, the entire galaxy was shaken. Unfortunately, not many people dared to accept it. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was undeniable. Even after Purple Star had sent out several Heavenly Dao Masters, they still could not do anything to him. Instead, they were beaten to a pulp by Chu Kuangren and lost all their dignity. Who would dare to provoke someone like Chu Kuangren? The Master of the Heaven Dao didn't dare. Even some advanced cultivation civilizations did not dare to do so. Ancient Mystic Moon City. After the battle at the Ancient City, the cultivators who left came back one after another. Although many parts of the ancient city had been damaged, there were still some places that were in good condition. Soon, it became lively again. Have you heard? The Purple Star sect has issued a kill order for Chu Kuangren. Yeah, that reward is really too generous. Even I'm extremely tempted. The assassin organizations in this galaxy should be getting restless. You're moved. Why don't you try it? What kind of joke is this? I still want to live. It's not like you guys didn't see the battle that day. That guy is simply a monster. I heard that the Black Blood Tower has taken action. Oh my god, there's really someone who dares to do that. In the ancient city of Mystic Moon, countless cultivators were still immersed in the battle not long ago. They were unable to calm down for a long time and were still discussing it. At this moment, at the end of the street, a gorgeous white robe slowly walked over. When the people on both sides of the street saw the white robe, they all retreated to the side, as if they were welcoming a king, automatically opening up a path for this person. That person was Chu Kuangren. Everyone looked at him with reverence and worship in their eyes. Chu Kuangren was not bothered by the gazes and discussions of the crowd. He went straight to the 3000 firm. Elderly received him. Fellow Taoist Chu, how have you been? Elderly looked at Chu Kuangren with a hint of reverence in his eyes. Even Elderly did not expect Chu Kuangren to be so monstrous. His value was far beyond his imagination. How's the preparation for the thing I want? Chu Kuangren's main purpose of coming here was to obtain the ingredients for brewing the God's Wine of Enlightenment. It's almost ready. Elderly took out a yin and yang ring. Inside it were the ingredients for brewing the God's Wine of Enlightenment. Chu Kuangren took it and scanned it with his emperor's thought. He then took out a yin and yang ring too. This is the rest of the payment. He had spent more than half of his spiritual marrows to purchase this batch of ingredients. However, the spiritual marrows were just worldly possessions. If he could successfully brew the God's Wine of Enlightenment, he would be willing to spend more. Thank you, Brother Chu. After completing the transaction, Chu Kuangren left. Master Chu. When he passed by the Wind Moon House, the Wind Moon House mistress saw him and could not help but call out in surprise. "Hello, mistress. Master Chu, what's up? Do you want to have a drink or two today?" Chu Kuangren rubbed his nose and smiled. "I've just bought a few things. I'm afraid I don't have the fortune to enjoy them." "Master Chu, you really know how to joke. If you're here, we're willing to pay for it. The spiritual marrows don't matter," the Wind Moon House mistress said as she pulled Chu Kuangren into the Wind Moon House. "Ladies, Master Chu is here," the Wind Moon House mistress shouted. Xiaoye and the others immediately walked out. "It's Master Chu." "That's great. Servants, prepare some wine for Master Chu," Xiaoye said to a servant. Chu Kuangren heard and quickly said, "There's no need for that. I'm only here to listen to the music. I'll pass on the wine." The wine at the Wind Moon House was shockingly expensive. It did not matter to him in the past. Now that he had bought the ingredients for the God's Wine of Enlightenment, he was short of money. "Ah, Master, you don't have to be so formal. I've already said that all your expenses are on me." The Wind Moon House mistress rolled her eyes and said. Xiaoye and the others understood what was going on. "Yes, Master. Come, please have a seat. If it's Master Chu, it's not a problem even if you're a freeloader." "Don't say freeloader. You can even pay for it," a woman said with a lustful look in her eyes. Quite a few people also had the same thought. Chu Kuangren was too outstanding. They knew that a man like him was out of their league, but if something could happen between them, they would be more than happy. There were also many customers in the Wind Moon House. Seeing how popular Chu Kuangren was, they felt a little jealous. It's good to be handsome. Tisk tsk, being handsome isn't the main point. The main point is that he's handsome, strong, and talented. No one can compare to him. The title of Poetic Sword Fairy is not just for show. These women in the Wind Moon House usually have their eyes on the top of their heads, but when they look at Chu Kuangren now, they can't wait to pay for it. "Stop it, stop it. Compared to the Poetic Sword Fairy, I feel like I'm useless. Sigh, comparisons are odious." After having a good time in Romance Brothel, Chu Kuangren returned to the city hall with a flask of eternal romance in hand. However, this time, he did not plan to stay. This time, he was here to say goodbye. "Brother Chu, you're leaving." Tang Haitang looked at Chu Kuangren and could not help but feel a little sad. Although they had not spent much time together, Tang Haitang was sure that she had fallen in love with Chu Kuangren. Now that they had to part, she could not help but feel sad. Chu Kuangren saw Tang Haitang's sadness and smiled. The universe is vast and boundless. There are still many people and sceneries waiting for me to meet. Miss Tang, if fate allows, we will meet again in the future. Yes. Tang Haitang nodded. "Brother Chu, I won't be seeing you out then," the God Moon Taoist master said. "Alright, see you again." Chu Kuangren no longer lingered and turned to leave. Behind him, Tang Haitang looked at him reluctantly. The Sacred Moon Taoist looked at his daughter and said, "Brother Chu is destined to stand at the top. The scenery he sees is not something ordinary people can see. If you want to stand side by side with him, Haitang, you have to work hard." He was using Chu Kuangren to encourage Tang Haitang. "Yes, I will." Tang Haitang nodded firmly. Chapter 881. In the vast universe. A battleship was sailing. On the ship, Chu Kuangren was sitting with his legs crossed. Above his head were two mysterious runic symbols that were floating and glowing. That was the Technique Validation Seal. The Technique Validation Seal was a treasure that could only be condensed when one created an immortal technique and resonated with the Taoist will of the universe. There was only one effect of this treasure: imbuing it with Tao technique energy. In other words, after refining the testimony seal, Chu Kuangren would be able to increase the power of his Tao techniques in the future. Even immortal techniques would be enhanced. That was a terrifying thing. To Chu Kuangren, the technique validation seal was more valuable than an immortal technique. After spending a month, I've finally fully refined this technique validation seal. Now, let's test out the effects of this technique validation seal. Chu Kuangren's eyes were filled with anticipation. He looked at an uninhabited planet not far away and raised his hand. A powerful immortal technique fluctuation spread out. Above his head, the technique validation seal floated and glowed mysteriously, resonating with the immortal technique on his body. Invincible technique, universal reversal. Chu Kuangren threw a punch. Like a purple torrent, his fist's strength pierced through the sky and landed on that planet, followed by an earth-shattering explosion. The planet exploded into a ball of flames. So powerful. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Shattering a small planet was nothing to him. However, he had only used less than 10% of his strength in that attack. More importantly, he had only used one technique validation seal. If he had used 2 technique validation seals at the same time, the power of that attack could be enhanced. With this technique validation seal, my strength will rise to another level. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction. Then, as if he had thought of something, he licked his lips and said, creating an immortal technique gives me a technique validation seal. If I continue to create my own immortal techniques in the future, I'll be able to obtain more technique validation seals. One technique validation seal already has a huge enhancement effect on my Dao technique. If I have 10 or 100 of them, what will it be like? To what extent will my Dao art be amplified? If anyone knew what he was thinking, they would definitely scoff. Creating one's own immortal art was extremely difficult even for immortals. Create 10 or even 100 immortal arts. Was that even possible? Even in the eyes of immortals, it was a fantasy. Chu Kuangren knew this as well. However, he did not give up. It's fun to challenge something that others think is impossible, Chu Kuangren murmured with bright eyes. What was impossible? What was impossible? He didn't understand. Let's take it slow. At least wait until the soul of enlightenment wine is done brewing. Chu Kuangren knew that self-creating an immortal technique could not be rushed. He created these 2 immortal techniques with the help of the divine enlightenment wine. The divine enlightenment wine would be a great help to him in creating his own immortal technique, and the materials he bought had already been properly disposed of. However, it would still take some time to brew the enlightenment wine. Return. Chu Kuangren kept the 2 Daoist seals back into his body. Let's think about how to deal with Purple Star first. When he said that he wanted to destroy Purple Star, it was not a joke. He really had this idea, and he was putting it into action. The first prerequisite was to increase his strength. Even though he was very powerful now and could kill an ordinary heavenly lord or even a late heavenly lord if he went all out. However, it was still a little difficult to deal with an entire civilization. Who knew how many heavenly lords or even hollow immortals were hiding in Purple Star? Although he had the immortal body, he would not be careless. If I want to increase my strength quickly, I'll have to draw some powerful reward. However, it's a matter of probability. I can't rely on it completely. To be more practical, I can only consume the stars. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up as he looked at the starry sky in front of him. An ordinary cultivator would need the support of resources if they wanted to increase their strength quickly. To Chu Kuangren, these stars were resources. They were all nutrients for his eternal star physique. In the remaining time, Chu Kuangren began to look for some stars that he could absorb to improve his immortal stellar physique. 3 months had passed. Chu Kuangren had continuously consumed dozens of uninhabited planets. His eternal star physique had become much stronger. However, there was still a long way to go before it reached its peak. Not enough. It's far from enough. The planets I've absorbed these past few days are only level 4 and level 5 planets. It's far from enough for my eternal star physique to have a breakthrough. In fact, as my eternal star physique continues to improve, these level 4 and level 5 planets are becoming less and less useful to me, Chu Kuangren murmured. He sat on the warship with a star map in his hand. He had obtained the star map from a nearby civilization. The star map showed that there was a level 7 planet a light year away from him. It was an uninhabited planet, which was also his destination. Let's draw a prize first, Chu Quanren said. He opened the fantasy roulette. The roulette instantly changed. Congratulations, host. You've obtained a god-tier technique, Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art. A god-tier technique, Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art? Chu Quanren's eyes lit up. Withdraw. He extracted the Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art. Suddenly, all sorts of mysteries regarding this technique surged into his mind. The Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art is a heavenly engulfing technique. Chu Quanren could not help but be shocked. A heavenly engulfing technique. Chu Quanren had been paying attention to this technique since a long time ago. However, it was too rare, so he never had the chance to see it. He did not expect to obtain it today. The Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art was a technique that targeted the Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art could seize the power of other Heavenly Taos and merge it with the Heavenly Tao of one's own star. It was a top-notch Heavenly Engulfing technique. However, there were two prerequisites for this Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art. First, the user must possess the power of the Heavenly Tao. Only with the power of the Heavenly Tao could this technique be used to devour other Heavenly Taos. Second, this Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art could not directly seize the Heavenly Taos of other stars. There must be a medium, such as a Celestial Lord. A Celestial Lord was recognized by the Heavenly Tao and possessed the power of the Heavenly Tao. They were connected to the Heavenly Tao, so they were the best medium. In other words, Chu Quanren could use this Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art to devour the Heavenly Tao of other Celestial Lords and merge it with the firmament star's Heavenly Tao. Although there were two limitations, it did not affect the power of this Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art. Among all the Heavenly Engulfing Divine Arts, the Heavenly Engulfing Divine Art was the best. Looks like I should try it on a Celestial Lord in the future. Chu Quanren chuckled. For the time being, he set his sights on the grade 7 planet on the star map. Not long after, he arrived at the grade 7 planet marked on the star map. However, there were many cultivators guarding the planet. Chu Quanren was not surprised. Some uninhabited planets often contained rich resources, so it was common for some civilizations or orthodoxies to target them for resources. However, Chu Quanren had his eyes on this planet now. He immediately entered the interior of the planet. The starlight immortal physique was activated. The entire planet began to tremble. The cultivators on the planet fell into a panic and quickly evacuated. In the universe, the grade 7 planet continued to collapse. The cultivators did not know how this happened, but they could feel that the energy that could destroy the planet was not something they could defend against. Chapter 882. Star Devourer. A cultivator in the starry sky looked at the collapsing giant planet and could not help but swallow his saliva. Star Devourer. Hearing this name, someone revealed a puzzled look. That person also explained, Star Devourer is a terrifying existence that appeared recently. No one knows if it's a human, a demon, or a spiritual body. However, wherever this person goes, the stars will gradually collapse and disappear as if they're being devoured. It's extremely terrifying. That person's eyes were filled with fear. Originally, I didn't believe this rumor. However, this planet is starting to collapse right in front of us. This must be the doing of the Star Devourer. Hearing this, everyone could not help but gasp. Feeding on planets? What kind of terrifying existence is that? Let's leave quickly. Who knows if this Star Devourer will devour humans? If we're devoured, we'll have nowhere to cry. Yes, let's leave quickly. Let's go back and report to the clan leader and the rest. Facing such a terrifying existence, I believe the clan leader and the rest will not make things difficult for us. After saying that, everyone left. In the universe, the giant planet was still collapsing continuously. Soon after, less than 1/10 of the giant planet was left. Looking from afar, there was only a huge earthy yellow ball of light left. On its surface, there were broken mountains, rivers, and the earth. Several warships flew over from afar. Among them, a red-robed lady stood on one of the warships. Beside her were a few injured cultivators. The red-robed lady and the rest were all equipped with long swords. Although they were injured, the sword chi on their bodies was still extremely sharp. "Senior sister, we can't go any further." A young man looked at Duan Muhang and said anxiously, "I heard that the Star Devourer is up ahead. If we go any further, we might be in danger." Duan Muhang's expression was cold. "Of course I know that. However, the Black Blood Hall's assassins are chasing us relentlessly. Now that we're all heavily injured, if we don't take the risk, I'm afraid none of us will survive." The white-robed young man was speechless. They looked at the warships behind them and gritted their teeth. "All right, we'll listen to senior sister. Let's go all out." In the warship behind Duan Muhang and the others, a group of cultivators in black robes and masks were gathered together. One of the assassins wearing a silver mask had a solemn look in his eyes. "Rumor has it that the Star Devourers appear up ahead. Should we continue chasing?" Everyone fell silent when they heard about the Star Devourer. "Chase." A golden-masked assassin, who seemed to be the leader, said coldly, "If we let these people return to the Royal Heaven Sword sect alive, our Black Blood sect will probably be in big trouble. As for that Star Devourer, it's just a rumor. If it's true, I'd like to see it for myself." For some powerful cultivators, destroying a planet wasn't a difficult task. However, this Star Devourer's methods were strange. It could actually devour a planet, which was why many cultivators were fearful of it. However, the golden-masked assassin believed that he had a high cultivation level and was fearless. Even if there really was a Star Devourer, he was confident that he could escape unscathed. Very soon, the few warships gradually approached the Star Devourer's domain. They felt a terrifying pressure enveloping the entire starry sky, causing their battleship to lose control. "Not good, the warship has become difficult to control. There seems to be a suction force." Duan Muhang, the golden-masked assassin, and the others were astonished. At this moment, their warship seemed to have entered a gravitational whirlpool. It was very difficult to control the direction, and they were flying toward the center of the whirlpool. "Look, what's that?" Suddenly, someone cried out in alarm. In the distance, a huge earthy yellow ball of light appeared. On the surface of the ball of light, there were scenes of shattered mountains and rivers, rolling lava, and other scenes. These scenes were continuously collapsing into the ball of light. That ball of light would occasionally expand and shrink. It was like a rising tide and a receding tide. Vaguely, they could hear a series of heavy breathing echoing in the starry sky. It was coming from inside the ball of light. Gulp, someone could not help but swallow his saliva. What exactly is inside that? There's actually a Star Devourer. This is too terrifying. Destroying a planet isn't difficult for some powerful cultivators, such as Tao Lords, but devouring a planet? This is the first time I've seen something like this. It's really too terrifying. Everyone looked at the ball of light in astonishment. Seeing that the warship was gradually losing control, Duan Muhang shouted loudly, "Oh no, we're about to be sucked in. Quick, get out of the warship." She immediately led the others out of the warship and hovered in the starry sky, using her Emperor Chi to resist the suction force emitted by the ball of light. The golden-masked assassin, silver-masked assassin, and the others did the same. Everyone met in the starry sky, and the atmosphere immediately became tense. "Kill them first, and then leave this place immediately," the golden-masked assassin said loudly. Even he felt a trace of fear toward the mysterious existence in the ball of light. Was that the Star Devourer? It was better not to provoke it. The group of assassins charged toward Duan Muhang and the others. Duan Muhang and the others naturally would not wait to be captured, and they immediately resisted. Sword light flashed, and all sorts of energy exploded in the starry sky. Boom, boom, at this moment, consecutive explosions came from nearby. Those warships were sucked to the surface of the ball of light, and then they collided with a powerful force and exploded. Dazzling sparks bloomed from the warships. When Duanmu Rong and the others saw this, their hearts could not help but tremble slightly. This wouldn't alarm the Star Devourer, right? In fact, it was indeed alarmed. Inside the ball of light, Chu Quanren, who was devouring the star energy, felt an external impact that did not belong to the star. This affected his devouring process. It was as if he was eating and suddenly found a few grains of sand in his rice. Although it was edible, it was still unpleasant. Chu Quanren could not help but frown. He then pushed his Emperor Qi and Universal Cauldron physique to their limits to absorb the remaining star energy. Outside the ball of light, Duanmu Hong and the others felt an even stronger suction force suddenly erupt from the ball of light. Then, the entire ball of light began to shrink rapidly. It was followed by a deafening explosion. The ball of light exploded. The majestic impact swept in all directions. Duanmu Hong, the golden masked assassin, and the others bore the brunt of it and were blasted away. The Royal Heaven Sword sect cultivators, who were already injured, were now even more injured. They stared at the center of the energy explosion. They could vaguely see a figure within it. Is that a person? Is that a person devouring the star? Everyone was extremely curious. That person slowly walked out of the center of the energy explosion. That person was dressed in a gorgeous white robe with an elegant ancient sword hanging from his waist. However, his face was shrouded in a layer of spiritual light, so no one could see his face clearly. However, that person's aura was deep and unfathomable. With just one look, one could tell that he was a peerless figure. What a deep aura! I can't even tell what's going on, the golden masked assassin said solemnly. After all, he was a great Taoist master. Even if it was a Taoist master who was more powerful than him, he would still be able to see through them. However, he could not see through the person in front of him at all. Unfathomable. Chapter 883. May I know your name, sir? The golden masked assassin cupped his fists and said. Chu Quanren glanced at him. He knew that his name had already spread throughout the entire purple gold galaxy. Therefore, in order to not expose his identity and cause unnecessary commotion, he had purposely covered his face with a spiritual light. You guys are disturbing me, Chu Quanren said in a slightly displeased tone. Upon hearing that, the golden masked assassin cupped his fists and said, It's our fault for disturbing you, sir. However, the Black Blood Syndicate is in the middle of something urgent, so we hope you can forgive us. He was being polite. However, he revealed the organization behind him. The Black Blood Syndicate was a very powerful assassin organization in the Purple Gold Galaxy. Their strength was no less than some powerful orthodoxies or civilizations. Due to their ruthless style, many first-rate orthodoxies and civilizations would avoid them when they encountered them. Chu Quanren had naturally heard of this assassin organization. He could not help but chuckle. Using the name of the Black Blood Syndicate, can I take that as a threat? As soon as he said that, a cold intense suddenly appeared, almost freezing the surrounding void. Duanmu Hong and the others could not help but shudder. This person did not look like a good person. However, they were secretly delighted. If Chu Quanren and the Golden Masked Assassin fought, they would have a chance to escape. I dare not. If my words have made you unhappy, I apologize here. The Golden Masked Assassin quickly cupped his fists and said. Chu Quanren snorted and turned to leave. It was not that he was afraid of the Black Blood Syndicate. It was just that he did not want to cause trouble. Thank you, sir. The Golden Masked Assassin sighed in relief and cupped his fists. It's over. Duanmu Hong and the others had a look of despair in their eyes. Prepare to die. Black Blood Syndicate, the Royal Heaven Sword sect will not forgive you. A young man beside Duanmu Hong said fiercely. Upon hearing that, Chu Quanren, who was about to leave, stopped and turned to look at Duan Muhang and the others. You guys are from the Royal Heaven Sword sect? The golden masked assassin's heart skipped a beat as he had a bad feeling. Duan Muhang, on the other hand, quickly said, yes, I'm the Taoist of the Royal Heaven Sword sect, Duan Muhang. Chu Kuangren was deep in thought. Back when the Purple Star Army attacked the Mystic Moon ancient city, there were people from the Imperial Heaven Sword sect among those who came to return the favor to the mortal Heaven Void Immortal. Even though he was here to return the favor to virtual immortal mortal Chen Tian, he had still helped Lin Fan out in the end. Forget it. It's nothing much anyway. Chu Kuangren turned around and looked at the gold-masked assassin and the others. He said calmly, I'll protect these people. You may leave now. The golden-masked assassin's eyes narrowed. One moment you're leaving, and the next moment you're saying that you're going to protect these people. Are you playing with us? If you want to think that way, I don't mind. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Sir, do you really intend to go against my Black Blood Tower? Yes. Then don't blame us. The golden-masked assassin did not say anything else. With a wave of his hand, the assassins beside him immediately charged towards Chu Kuangren, unleashing all sorts of powerful killing techniques. Chu Kuangren stood still. He raised his hand. Then, he gently pushed it forward. He did not use any cultivation techniques. Instead, he simply released the Emperor's essence. A burst of purple chi swept across like a raging wave. Amidst the explosion, the assassins were instantly turned into a mist of blood. What? The golden-masked assassin was horrified. Then, without another word, he took out a small black sword. With a flick of the sword, it turned into a black ray of light and shot out. The ray of light that the small sword transformed into was not eye-catching. However, the power contained within it was extremely terrifying. Wherever the blade of the sword passed, the void was torn apart, and there was a sense of dead silence. The small sword pierced through the purple chi and flew towards Chu Kuangren. Its speed was so fast that it was difficult to dodge. Chu Kuangren did not dodge either. With a clang, the small sword landed on Chu Kuangren's chest, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Chu Kuangren stood still on the spot. The small sword stabbed into his chest, but it could not penetrate the surface of his body. How is this possible? The golden-masked assassin could not help but feel terrified. After all, this small black sword was a treasure that he had exchanged from the Black Blood Gang with a large number of assassin points after completing countless assassination missions. Even the Sky Dao Master might not be able to withstand that attack. However, Chu Kuangren stood his ground and took the attack head-on without a scratch. Moreover, it seemed like he did not use the Emperor's essence. Did he withstand the small black sword purely with his physical body? This small sword is quite interesting. Chu Kuangren reached out with 2 fingers and pinched the small sword with a playful look on his face. There were runes flowing on the small sword, and the material it was made of was very special as well. It was an ingenious combination of runes and equipment crafting techniques. Unfortunately, that's all it can do. He shook his head. With a slight force from his fingers, the runic power on the small sword exploded the moment it hit Chu Kuangren. However, it could not hurt him at all. Now that it was caught between his fingers, it broke with a clang. He sensed his current strength. He was one step closer to the peak of the Starlight Immortal physique. The increase that this grade 7 planet gave him was greater than the dozens of planets that he had devoured in the past few months combined. Let's go. The gold-masked assassin did not dare to stay any longer. His figure flashed and turned into a stream of light as he was about to leave. However, the next moment, his body abruptly stopped in midair, unable to move. A purple chain that contained the power of the small realm had tightly bound him, making it impossible for him to break free. On the other end of the chain was Chu Kuangren. With a tug of the chain, the gold-masked assassin's body flew back uncontrollably. A majestic emperor's essence surged from behind him. Before the gold-masked assassin could react, his body was blasted into a cloud of blood mist. Not far away, Duan Muhang and the others were dumbfounded. The assassins who had forced them into a corner were easily taken care of by Chu Kuangren. How powerful was his opponent? Those are the gold-masked assassins from the Black Blood Gang. They're at least in the Great Dao Master realm, but they can't even take one hit from him. Is this the legendary Star Devourer? After Chu Kuangren had taken care of the group of assassins, he walked past Duan Muhang and the others and was about to leave. Duan Muhang and the others were stunned for a moment before they quickly followed him. Thank you for saving us, sir. I'm acquainted with Elder Yang Shao from the Royal Heaven Sword sect. That's why I saved you guys. You don't have to thank me, Chu Kuangren said. My senior brother, the Triple Swordsman, has been captured by the Black Blood Gang. I hope you can help us. Duan Muhang begged Chu Kuangren for help. I saved you guys because you guys appeared before me, but that doesn't mean I'll go out of my way to save you guys. Chu Kuangren said. The Triple Swordsman. He had some recollection of that. However, they had only met once on the Purple Blood planet, and they were still fighting for the so-called Purple Blood Illusionary Immortal's inheritance. As long as you help us, the Royal Heaven Sword sect will reward you. There's nothing in the Royal Heaven Sword sect that can move me. My senior brother has an immortal tendon. Duan Muhang gritted his teeth and said. That piqued Chu Kuangren's interest. Immortal tendon. Chapter 884. Immortal tendons. The tendons of an immortal. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. Anything that was related to immortals was not something simple. Tell me about it, Chu Kuangren said. Some time ago, senior brother and I were training in a secret realm in the universe, and by chance, we found an immortal tendon. However, the Black Blood Hall found out about this. In order to obtain this immortal tendon, the Black Blood Hall's young master brought people to surround us. In order to protect us, senior brother was captured by the Black Blood Hall. Chu Kuangren pondered for a while. I can help you guys, he said. An immortal tendon might be a good opportunity of fortune. Thank you, sir. Duan Muhang was delighted. After that, she asked the rest of the Royal Heaven Sword sect disciples to report back to the sect, while she brought Chu Kuangren to the Black Blood Gang. Why didn't you wait for the Royal Heaven Sword sect's experts to rescue you? Chu Kuangren asked on the way to the Black Blood Gang. The Black Blood Gang has many strongholds in the Purple Gold Galaxy. If we wait for the elders to rescue us, senior brother and the Black Blood Gang's young master would have already moved. So we must finish this quickly. Duan Muhang said. A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Moreover, for an assassin organization like the Black Blood Tower, no one knew how many hideouts the Black Blood Tower had. Inside a star. The Black Blood Gang. A white-robed young man was sitting with his legs crossed. On his right arm, there was a crystal white light that vaguely revealed mysterious Taoist markings. Not long after, the white-robed young man suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with joy as he clenched his fists. Such powerful strength. I feel like I can easily kill a Tao Lord with this punch. Is this the power of an immortal tendon? The white-robed young man was the young master of the Black Blood Gang. He was also an immortal seed. However, he was not well known and had always been in hiding. Now that he had refined an immortal tendon into his body, his strength had skyrocketed. He was even confident that he could face the Purple Star and Golden Star Sequence Masters. The most powerful immortal seed in the Purple Gold Galaxy now should be the Poetic Sword God, Chu Kuangren. I don't think I'm that much weaker than him now. After all, he had merged with an immortal tendon. This was a huge opportunity that even the first rank did not have. Buzz. At this moment, the jade slip at his waist vibrated. A message was sent over. The assassins that were sent to kill Duan Muhang and the others were all dead? Duan Muhang and the others actually have such strength? In his opinion, since Duan Muhang and the others were injured, they should not be able to escape the pursuit of the assassins he sent out. A bunch of trash. The white-clad young man snorted coldly. Then, he revealed a thoughtful expression. Duan Muhang and the others have escaped. The powerhouses of the Royal Heaven Sword sect will probably arrive here soon. Looks like I have to move as soon as possible. The white-robed youth said. He got up and was about to leave this planet. However, in the next instant, a domineering pressure that blotted out the heavens and covered the earth suddenly erupted, enveloping the entire star, causing one's heart to palpitate. This pressure is so strong. Who is it? The white-clothed young man hurriedly got up and walked out of the house. What entered his eyes were rows upon rows of black skyscrapers that rose and fell one after another. This was the Black Blood Brothel. There were many assassins hidden in the skyscrapers. At this moment, they sensed the powerful aura and rushed out. What a powerful aura! Who is it? This is at least a great Tao Lord. In fact, it is far stronger than ordinary great Tao Lords. Why would such an expert come to our Black Blood Brothel to pick a fight? Could it be for Sword Sanju? I didn't expect him to come so soon. The assassins looked at the warship sailing over in the sky with unprecedented seriousness in their eyes. In their opinion, it was very likely that the powerhouses of the Royal Heaven Sword sect had come to rescue Sword Sanju. How many powerhouses would there be? 10. 100. Although the Royal Heaven Sword sect did not have as many people as the civilizations, they could still bring out dozens of Tao Lords. On the warship, two figures slowly descended. They were a man and a woman. The assassins recognized the woman. She was Duan Muhang. However, the man was dressed in a white robe and had a gorgeous ancient sword hanging from his waist. His face was covered by a spiritual light, and his face could not be seen clearly. However, his aura was so deep that it was impossible to ignore. Wait a minute, only two people. The assassins could not help but be shocked. They thought the Royal Heaven Sword sect would send many people, but they did not expect it to only be two. Although the Black Blood Brothel on this star was only a branch, there were still tens of thousands of assassins. Moreover, the assassins of the Black Blood Brothel were carefully selected. Among these tens of thousands of people, half of them were emperors, and there were 20 to 30 Tao Lords. There were even a few great Tao Lords among them. The Royal Heaven Sword sect only sent two people. Isn't that a bit too much? The young man in white said coldly. In the sky, Chu Kuangren and Duan Muhang slowly descended under the watchful eyes of the assassins. The moment they landed, a majestic aura swept out in all directions. The entire planet was shaking because of it. The ground cracked, the mountains and rivers shattered, and the wind and clouds surged. One by one, the buildings of the Black Blood Brothel collapsed. It was like a natural disaster. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the assassins before him. He said indifferently, "Hand over the sword Sanju, and I'll grant you a quick death." Upon hearing that, the assassins' eyes flashed with murderous intent. They were people who lived on the edge of a knife, so death was a common occurrence to them. Threats were hardly effective against them. However, they were extremely displeased to be threatened by a single person despite having so many assassins. You may be strong, but you're only one person. Open your eyes wide and take a look. We have tens of thousands of assassins here. One of the assassins said coldly. He automatically omitted Duan Muhang's name. To them, Duan Muhang was not a threat at all. Duan Muhang's lips twitched, but she did not refute. In fact, she was indeed very insignificant in front of these tens of thousands of assassins. Now, she could only rely on Chu Kuangren. Tens of thousands of assassins. To me, you're nothing but grass in front of me. All I have to do is set a fire, and you'll all be gone. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Arrogant. One of the assassins snorted. A sword appeared in his hand, and in a flash, he turned into a stream of light and charged towards Chu Kuangren. That person was wearing a golden mask. The golden mask was the second highest rank of assassins in the Black Blood Brothel. Normally, only Tao Lords could hold this position. As for the highest rank of assassins, it was the purple mask. However, there were only 4 of them in the entire Black Blood brothel. Therefore, the Golden Mask assassin was already the top assassin in the Black Blood brothel. Ignorant. Chu Kuangren gently raised his hand and slowly grabbed towards the void, accurately grabbing the head of the assassin that was flying towards him. It was as if the assassin was willing to let himself be caught. Chu Kuangren slightly tightened his fingers. Boom! The assassin's head exploded on the spot, and a headless corpse fell to the ground. It twitched a few times on the ground before it stopped moving completely. Attack together. He's only one person. The assassins charged towards Chu Kuangren from all directions. Chapter 885. Inside the Black Blood Inn. Countless assassins swarmed towards Chu Kuangren. Sword chi, saber rays, palm energies, and other techniques were unleashed. These were all killer techniques that the assassins had cultivated to kill. Beside Chu Kuangren, Duan Muhang could not help but tremble. In the face of such an attack, she only had one thought. That was, terrifying. She could not help but take 2 steps closer to Chu Kuangren, as if she wanted to gain some sense of security from this man beside her. Alone? People always have this illusion that more is better than less, and the bigger is stronger than the smaller. People are ignorant, and so are you. Chu Kuangren opened his palm. There was a golden-red fire lotus swaying in his palm. The petals of the fire lotus unfurled. It was beautiful and pleasing to the eye. Duan Muhang could not help but be mesmerized by it. However, in the next instant, the peerlessly beautiful fire lotus exploded with a bang. The unimaginably powerful waves of fire instantly gushed out in all directions, crashing head-on into the group of assassins. Followed by a series of explosions. Many assassins were burned to ashes on the spot. With Chu Kuangren at the center, the fire waves swept out wave after wave. Wherever they went, the void distorted and everything was burned to ashes. Even emperors and heavenly venerables could not withstand its power. The entire Black Blood Inn was turned into ashes under that one move. 99% of the tens of thousands of assassins were burned to ashes. The rest were mostly Dao Lord Golden Masked assassins. They looked at Chu Kuangren in horror. One move. Just one move. More than half of their tens of thousands of assassins were killed with just one move. What kind of strength was that? I've said it before, killing you guys is just a matter of setting fire. Chu Kuangren looked at the crowd and said. Who the hell are you? One of the golden masked assassins could not help but ask. That's not important. Chu Kuangren opened his palm, and the golden red fire lotus swayed in his palm. The assassins' expressions changed when they saw the fire lotus, and they subconsciously took a few steps back. That fire lotus was too terrifying. One of the higher-ranked golden masked assassins stared at Chu Kuangren with shock in his eyes. White robe, phoenix flames, and that white jade sword at your waist. You're the poetic sword fairy. Everyone gasped when they heard the words poetic sword god. Poetic sword god, Chu Kuangren. It could be said that there was no one in the purple gold galaxy who did not know of this name. It was simply too famous. In the Battle of Mystic Moon Ancient City, the other party was directly conferred the title of god. Poetic sword god Chu Kuangren, it's him. Oh my god, the assassins were extremely shocked. Who would have thought that the poetic sword god, Chu Kuangren, would be here in person? Meanwhile, Duan Muhang, who was beside Chu Kuangren, was also dumbfounded. He did not expect that the person who helped him would be Chu Kuangren. Then, her eyes were filled with fanatical worship. Naturally, she knew who Chu Kuangren was. He didn't just know. Furthermore, after he found out about the other party, he viewed him as his idol and dreamed of meeting him one day. Now, she had a feeling that her dream had come true. I have no regrets in this life. Duan Muhang even felt that her life was complete. Oh, I've been recognized. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly and dispersed the spiritual light on his face. A handsome face appeared clearly in front of everyone. Beside him, Duanmu Hang's eyes lit up. It's really him. Everyone's eyes narrowed. You guys seem to know a lot about me. The Black Blood Gang is an assassin organization, and Purple Star has issued a bounty on me. Why, are you guys interested too? Chu Kuangren said with a playful smile. Upon hearing his words, everyone's eyes flashed. Indeed. The Black Blood Gang was indeed interested in Purple Star's bounty. Everything else aside, just the 10 billion spiritual pith alone was enough to tempt countless assassins. However, they did not expect that Chu Kuangren would come knocking on their door before they could do anything. Poetic Sword God, Chu Kuangren, very well. Let me have a taste of your strength. An arrogant voice suddenly rang out. A white-robed young man walked out with Emperor's Qi and intertwined Taoist patterns. Especially on his right hand, the Taoist patterns were even more dazzling. A huge domineering aura spread, shocking the assassins. It's the young master. Wait a minute, the young master's aura has become much stronger. Did he refine the immortal tendon? That must be it. Otherwise, the young master's strength wouldn't have skyrocketed so much. Ha, this is great. The young master's combat strength has greatly increased after merging with the immortal tendon. Perhaps he can really defeat Chu Kuangren now. The assassins were overjoyed. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren looked at the white-robed young man. The spirit of omniscience, Shao AI, had already activated to analyze his opponent's information. Especially his right hand, it made him take a few more glances. The immortal tendon that he was looking for was inside that arm. Chu Kuangren, I've just refined this immortal tendon. Today, I'll use you to test its power, the white-robed young man said coldly. He made the first move. As he raised his right hand, the majestic Emperor's Qi that was enhanced by the immortal tendon became even more terrifying, and there was a faint celestial glow emanating from it. With a punch, a terrifying fist force poured out like a torrential river. The power of that punch was comparable to a peak great Taoist lord. Chu Kuangren also threw a punch at him. The power of the star immortal body erupted. With a loud bang, the young man in white's majestic fist energy was shattered by his punch. Not only that, but the fist energy rolled back and forcefully sent the young man in white flying hundreds of feet away. How is this possible? The white-robed young man found it hard to believe. Why? He had clearly fused with the immortal tendons and his combat strength had greatly increased. Even if he were to face a sequence 1, he should still be able to put up a fight. However, why could it not block a single punch from Chu Kuangren? The gap between them was too great. Truly, too weak. This immortal tendon is wasted in your hands. Chu Kuangren shook his head. He took a step forward and arrived in front of the white-robed young man. The other party roared furiously and threw out another punch. Monarch Qi burst forth and immortal radiance blossomed. However, this punch was caught by the other party's palm. Shadow Saber. The white jade young man could not break free from Chu Kuangren's grasp. Suddenly, a long black saber appeared in his left hand and he swung it at Chu Kuangren. Black light flowed on the edge of the blade, giving off a deathly stillness. However, Chu Kuangren slowly raised 2 fingers. The saber was caught by him. How is this possible? The white-robed young man was even more shocked. That saber was a great Taoist weapon. After Chu Kuangren caught the saber, he flicked his wrist and a surge of energy blasted the white-robed young man's saber hand away. Then, he flicked his finger on the long saber. The long saber spun in the air before it chopped off the white-robed young man's right arm. Ah! The white-robed young man let out a scream and was forced to retreat. Opposite him, Chu Kuangren grabbed his broken arm and used his Emperor's Qi to shatter it. Amidst the blood mist, a 1-meter-long, crystal-clear immortal tendon that was emanating rays of immortal radiance appeared. This immortal tendon is not bad. Chu Kuangren grabbed the immortal tendon and examined it for a while before he smiled. He then tossed it into his yin and yang ring. Following that, a fiery light circulated on his fingertips. The phoenix fire roared and instantly charged towards the white-robed young man, burning him into ashes. Without the immortal tendon, the white-robed young man did not even have the chance to attack Chu Kuangren. The gap between them was too great. Chapter 886. Young master is dead. Let's go. The rest of the assassins immediately abandoned their base and fled into the distance. However, just as they were about to leave, an invisible force field suddenly enveloped the entire area. It was Chu Kuangren's mini-realm. Seeing that, the others also wanted to summon their own mini-realms to fight back. However, they were too weak. Compared to Chu Kuangren's mini-realm, their mini-realms were not even worth mentioning. They were instantly crushed to the ground by Chu Kuangren. Following that, Chu Kuangren unleashed his single-thought technique. Thousands of swords condensed in the void. Like rain, the assassins were easily killed one by one. Soon, none of the Black Blood Gang's assassins survived. Beside them, Duanmu Hong was dumbfounded. She was speechless. As expected of the poetic sword fairy. Such a technique is unbelievably powerful. It's amazing. Chu Kuangren walked towards a tower in the distance. Duanmu Hong quickly followed. The third sword jadeite is in the dungeon below that tower. Go and rescue him. I'll go there to look for something. Chu Kuangren said. Duanmu Hong nodded. All right. As the top assassin organization in the Purple Gold Galaxy, the Black Blood Gang still had a lot of treasures in their branch. After Chu Kuangren looted the place, he had obtained a lot of good stuff. Just the spiritual marrow alone was a few billion kilograms. Chu Kuangren, who was originally short on resources, was suddenly filled with confidence. Not long after, he arrived at a secret room. This secret room was protected by a large number of seals and formations. However, these were not a problem for him as he could easily break through them. After entering the secret room, Chu Kuangren saw a jade scroll hanging on the wall. Beside the jade scroll was a name. Each name represented an assassination target. Chu Kuangren saw his own name there. Ha, so they're really planning to kill me. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and picked up the jade scroll with his name. With a single thought, a large amount of information suddenly surged into his mind. It included Chu Kuangren's age, cultivation level, cultivation techniques, and the civilization he was born in. It was very detailed. There were even 4 scarlet words at the back. Extremely dangerous. You know I'm in danger, yet you still want to kill me. Black Blood Gang, looks like you guys are tired of living. Chu Kuangren clenched his fist and the jade scroll instantly turned into ashes. His eyes flashed with a cold light. Then, he looked at the jade scrolls on the wall and discovered that there were quite a few names on them that he was actually somewhat familiar with. Yang Xiao, Divine Moon Downlord, and Tian, Lion Ridge Downlord. Chu Kuangren's gaze turned colder and colder. He was not familiar with these people, but they all had one thing in common. They had come to protect him during the battle in Mystic Moon Ancient City. The Black Blood Tower actually intended to attack the person who was protecting him. Who was behind this? After searching for a while, he finally found the mastermind behind this. As expected. Purple Star. Chu Kuangren sneered. Not only did Purple Star plan to kill him, but they also wanted to kill the cultivators who had protected him back then. If that's the case, then the Black Blood Gang can't be allowed to live any longer. Chu Kuangren relayed the information he had obtained here to the Mystic Moon Taoist master. Let him warn the others to be careful. He also told the other party that he would deal with the Black Blood Tower. For a time, masters from all over the world received the news and were extremely angry about Purple Star's actions. F***CK, this daddy is going to return a favor, and Purple Star wants to kill this daddy. As expected of Purple Star, right? How domineering. Black Blood Tower. Bastards, no wonder I keep feeling like someone's watching me. So they're behind this. Initially, I didn't plan to intervene after returning the favor, but I didn't expect Purple Star to be so persistent. Very well, since you guys want to play, then I'll play with you till the end. It's all thanks to Brother Chu's information. The masters from all over the world were extremely furious. At the same time, a fuse was buried in their hearts, a fuse to rebel against Purple Star. All they had to do was wait for an opportunity to ignite this fuse. Many people knew that. That opportunity was with Chu Kuangren. Black Blood Tower's branch. Chu Kuangren had looted almost everything here. Duan Muhang had also rescued Sanju Swordsman. The Immortal Seed, who was originally in high spirits, had many injuries on his body. His aura was weak, and it was obvious that he had suffered a lot. Fortunately, since Duan Muhang and the others had escaped, the Black Blood Tower did not dare to kill Sanju Swordsman before everyone was killed. If the Royal Heaven Sword sect attacked in the future, he could still be used as a bargaining chip. It was because of this that Sanju Swordsman managed to survive. Brother Chu, thank you very much. Sanju Swordsman looked at Chu Kuangren with a complicated gaze. Back on the Purple Blood planet, he had said that he would one day challenge Chu Kuangren again. Now it seemed like he was not qualified to be Chu Kuangren's opponent. You're welcome. Chu Kuangren activated his Emperor's Qi and cast the Spring Breeze healing technique to heal Sanju Swordsman's injuries. This support-type cultivation technique was very useful and had helped Chu Kuangren a lot. However, it was only an Emperor technique after all, so it was not enough to heal a Daylord's injuries. However, Chu Kuangren was a top-notch healer. After a simple treatment, Sanju Swordsman's injuries were almost healed. Alright, now that I've rescued him, I'll be taking this immortal tendon with me. Goodbye, Chu Kuangren said and left. Sanju Swordsman and Duan Muhang did not say anything. If it were not for Chu Kuangren, they would not even be alive, let alone an immortal tendon. In the universe. On a battleship. Chu Kuangren played with the immortal tendon in his hand. This immortal tendon did not reek of blood at all. On the contrary, it had a strange fragrance. The immortal radiance on it was very mystical. The young master of the Black Blood Tower simply refined it and did not unleash the full power of the immortal tendon. Otherwise, his combat strength would have increased by another level. He would probably be on par with the first sequence. Items related to immortals are indeed extraordinary. Chu Kuangren was amazed. Although this immortal tendon had many mysterious uses, Chu Kuangren did not plan to refine it and integrate it into his body. His meridians were still intact, and his immortal stellar physique cultivation had made his physical body unusually strong. There was no need for him to forcefully integrate an immortal tendon that did not belong to him. When he became an immortal in the future, he could have as many immortal tendons as he wanted. This was not a joke. With the immortal body, it was possible. When that time came, he could pluck one and grow another. Would that not mean he had unlimited immortal tendons? Although this immortal tendon won't integrate with me, it's still a treasure. I can't waste it. What should I use it for? Chu Kuangren thought to himself. After thinking for a while, he could not think of anything at the moment, so he no longer cared about it. His priority now was to eradicate the Black Blood Gang. His looting at the Black Blood Gang's branch had allowed him to locate the headquarters of the Black Blood Gang. His destination this time was the star where the headquarters of the Black Blood Gang was located, the Sirius Star. Black Blood Gang, are you guys ready to face my wrath? Chu Kuangren murmured as he looked into the distant starry sky. A cold light flashed across his eyes. Chapter 887. The Sirius Star. This was a high-level cultivation civilization in the Purple Gold Galaxy. However, unlike the Purple Star and Venus, the Sirius Star did not have an absolute leading force on the surface. In this civilization, it was ruled by a group of warlords. Today, outside the Sirius Star domain, a figure arrived. It was Chu Kuangren. His Emperor's thought surged and enveloped the entire Sirius Star. It was a grade 8 planet, which was even bigger than the firmament star. However, his emperor's thought could still envelop it completely. It was repelled by the heavenly Tao. He also channeled his heavenly Tao energy to resist the heavenly Tao. Invisibly, the heavenly Taos of the two living planets collided. The Sirius star. Somewhere, a man in a black robe suddenly opened his eyes and frowned. There's something wrong with the heavenly Tao. It's the influence of another heavenly Tao. He pondered for a while. Then, he took out a jade token. Have someone pay attention to the Sirius star and see if there are any strong cultivators from other domains. After the message was passed down, someone quickly went to execute it. A cold look appeared in the black-robed man's eyes. I don't care who you are or which civilization you're from, but I hope you don't cause trouble on the Sirius star. Otherwise, the Black Blood Gang will not let you off so easily. This person was the master of the Black Blood Gang. In outer space. After Chu Kuangren understood the situation on the Sirius star, he turned into a stream of light and flew towards the Sirius star. He arrived just in time. The Sirius star was currently in a very chaotic stage. The two most powerful forces on the Sirius star, the Black Blood Gang and the cultivator Li family, were fighting each other for the leadership of the Sirius star. The battle was very intense. However, the Li family was at an absolute disadvantage. The Li family's lord was killed by the master of the Black Blood Gang not long ago, and the Li family fell into a situation without a leader. After a huge battle, more than half of the strong cultivators of the Li family were killed. Tens of thousands of disciples of the Li family were either injured, dead, or escaped. Most of the disciples of the Li family were now being hunted by the assassins of the Black Blood Gang. To everyone, there was no turning back. The Sirius star. In a city, a figure flew across the street, followed by a few Black Blood Gang assassins in silver masks. When the surrounding cultivators saw this, their expressions changed drastically and they quickly backed away. It's the assassins of the Li clan and the Black Blood Tower. That person is the second miss of the Li clan. She used to be the pampered daughter of the Li clan, but now she has become the target of assassination. Go away. Don't get involved. Li Xuan was holding a red longbow in her hand as she evaded the pursuit of the Black Blood Tower. She couldn't help but feel somewhat sorrowful. To think that she, the daughter of a generation, was originally high and mighty. However, in just a few short days, the Li family had been destroyed, and she had become a stray dog. It's all because of these damned assassins of the Black Blood Tower. Li Xuan's eyes were filled with hatred. She flipped the longbow in her hand and pulled the bowstring. Imperial aura surged out, turning into a blood arrow that shot through the air with a whoosh. The blood arrow hit an assassin from the Black Blood Tower, causing him to explode into a bloody mist on the spot. The terrifying impact caused the other assassins to tumble and instantly widened the distance between them and Li Xuan. There was a flash of delight in Li Xuan's eyes, but she did not continue fighting. She knew that staying alive was the most important thing right now. Her figure flashed and she flew into the distance. However, all of a sudden, a terrifying palm chi struck from the sky. Li Xuan's expression changed. There was no time for her to use her archery skills. She raised her hand and struck out with her palm, colliding with the palm chi. With a bang, the huge force caused her to fly backward. This force is the Great Tao Lord. Li Xuan looked into the distance and saw two assassins wearing golden masks blocking her way. Her eyes instantly revealed a hint of despair. One golden-masked assassin was enough to deal with her. Not to mention two of them. Li Xuan, I'll give you a chance. Obediently hand over the Li family's 4 symbols sun shooting archery technique, and I'll spare your life. One of the golden-masked assassins sneered. You want my Li family's immortal technique? No way. Li Xuan gritted her teeth. She took a deep breath and revealed a hint of determination in her eyes. Even if she was to die, as the daughter of the Li family, she had to die with a bang. She suddenly pulled the longbow in her hand. Imperial aura circulated and turned into a blood-colored arrow, locking onto one of the golden-masked assassins. Go! Li Xuan released her fingers. There was a loud bang. The arrow pierced through the air and turned into a giant white tiger. The white tiger roared thunderously, and its terrifying murderous aura caused the golden-masked assassin's eyes to narrow. White tiger arrow. Is this the Li family's immortal technique? The two golden-masked assassins joined forces and unleashed the power of the great Tao Lord, forcefully shattering the white tiger arrow. Meanwhile, Li Xuan was sent flying backward while vomiting blood. It's a pity that you're just a little Tao Lord. If your cultivation base is higher, you might be able to injure us with this move. The golden-masked assassin said coldly with a hoarse voice. He then raised his hand and threw a punch at Li Xuan. The fist force soared into the sky. That was the power of the great Tao Lord. Li Xuan took out a talisman and threw it. The talisman turned into a barrier and blocked the attack. Following that, she let out a low grunt and pulled the bowstring again. This time, apart from her imperial aura, a large amount of life essence leaked out and integrated into the arrow that she condensed. This is the Li family's forbidden technique, Blood Vitality Arrow. The golden-masked assassin could not help but exclaim. From this arrow, they actually felt threatened. Quick, don't let her shoot. Stop her. As her life essence continued to leak out, Li Xuan's hair gradually turned gray. However, her eyes were bright as she stared straight at the golden-masked assassin. Hit! The arrow pierced through the sky again. The giant white tiger appeared again, but the power this time was much stronger than the previous arrow. A golden-masked assassin wanted to resist, but it was difficult to do so. He was blasted into a cloud of blood mist on the spot. This scene made some of the surrounding cultivators click their tongues in wonder. So powerful. As expected of the Li family's forbidden technique. The Li family's shooting Sun 4 Elephant's arrow is known as the #1 offensive technique on Sirius. Coupled with the Li family's forbidden technique, the power that erupted is indeed extraordinary. It can even kill a great Tao Lord. It's a pity that Li Xuan used the forbidden technique and consumed most of her life essence. I guess she can't shoot another arrow. The daughter of the Li family is going to die. Everyone was discussing. However, no one dared to stop the assassin from the Black Blood cult. In the current Sirius planet, the Black Blood cult was the heavens. No one dared to go against the heavens. B****, go to hell. Seeing that his companion was killed and that he was afraid of the Li family's archery technique, the remaining golden-masked assassin was shocked and furious. He pushed his Emperor Qi to the extreme and turned it into a huge golden hand that blasted towards Li Xuan. Father, brother, I can't avenge you anymore. Li Xuan closed her eyes in despair. She had used all her strength and could no longer resist. However, after a while, the pain that she imagined did not come. She opened her eyes and saw a figure in white. The figure was slender, thin, and not very muscular. However, it gave Li Xuan an indescribable feeling of greatness. Who was this person? Chapter 888. Just as Li Xuan was about to die, a white-robed figure suddenly appeared. The newcomer stood in front of her with his back facing her. His slender figure had an indescribable majestic aura that gave her a sense of security. The golden-masked assassin's attack was blocked 3 meters away from the white-robed figure. It was as if he had encountered an invisible barrier and could not advance an inch. The next moment, the giant golden hand suddenly shattered and disappeared. Who are you? The golden-masked assassin looked at the white-robed young man who had suddenly appeared in front of him with a horrified look in his eyes. His all-out attack had actually been so easily blocked by someone. His opponent's strength was unfathomable. Who am I? Ha, the one who destroyed the Black Blood gang. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then, his mind power instantly whistled out and locked onto all the Black Blood gang assassins at the scene. How strong was his soul energy now? The peak fifth transformation of the 9 transformations ternary refinement technique alone was comparable to a peak great Taoist lord, let alone 3 of them. His mind power was enough to easily kill all the great Taoist lords. He did not even need to use his mind. Boom, 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 clouds of blood mist exploded in the void. The assassins did not even have time to react before they died. The surrounding cultivators could not help but shudder. How did he kill these people? What did he say just now? Killing the Black Blood Gang? Is he trying to go against the Black Blood Gang? Is this guy crazy? The crowd could not help but move away from Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren ignored the crowd and turned to look at Li Xuan. He cast the Spring Breeze healing technique to heal some of her injuries. Miss Li, how about we make a deal? Chu Kuangren did not beat around the bush and said directly. A deal? Li Xuan regained her senses and was a little confused. Yes. Who are you? Although he had saved her, it seemed like he had an ulterior motive. A hint of wariness appeared in her eyes. Chu Kuangren could see her wariness, but he did not care. He removed the spiritual glow from his face and said, Chu Kuangren. The surrounding cultivators gasped when they heard that name. Poetic sword god Chu Kuangren. Why? Why is he here? Li Xuan could not help but be stunned when she heard that name. Poetic sword god, such a person. What deal? It's too noisy here. Let's talk somewhere else, Chu Kuangren said calmly before he walked towards a luxurious restaurant not far away. Li Xuan followed suit. She had a feeling. Perhaps Chu Kuangren was the key to turning the Li family around. In the crowd, a man in gray robes stared at Chu Kuangren and Li Xuan's back with a strange look in his eyes. Chu Kuangren has appeared on the Sirius Star, and it seems like he's only targeting the Black Blood Gang. He's not here with good intentions, so we must inform the leader. He was also an assassin of the Black Blood Tower. Soon, news of Chu Kuangren's arrival on the Sirius Star spread like wildfire. Many assassins from the Black Blood Gang rushed over, including quite a number of gold-masked assassins. After all, Chu Kuangren was also on the Black Blood Gang's assassination list, and he was the one with the highest bounty. Killers kill for the sake of profit. There weren't many assassins who wouldn't be tempted by such a huge profit. Inside the restaurant, Chu Kuangren ignored the stares from the people around him and ordered a table full of delicacies and wine. Li Xuan could not help but gulp when she saw the table full of delicacies and wine. It had been a long time since she had a good meal. As you wish, Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then I won't hold back. Li Xuan immediately picked up her chopsticks. Although she had not enjoyed any delicacies for a long time, she did not show any signs of wolfing down her food. Although she ate very quickly, she still maintained the demeanor of a socialite. She was not afraid that Chu Kuangren would poison her. If the poetic sword god wanted to harm her, would he need to resort to tricks like poison? Chu Kuangren drank his wine and was not in a hurry to speak. After a while, when Li Xuan was almost done eating, she took the initiative to ask, why is the poetic sword god here? To deal with the Black Blood Gang. Chu Kuangren said directly. Do you have a grudge against the Black Blood Gang? Not really. They wanted to kill me for the bounty of the Purple Star, so I wanted to destroy them. In my eyes, this is not a grudge. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Hatred was something that was etched in one's heart. The Black Blood Gang alone was not enough for him to remember. The diners in the restaurant nearby listened and could not help but be amazed. That was the Black Blood Gang, the strongest force on the Sirius Star, and even the entire Purple Gold Galaxy. Yet Chu Kuangren destroyed them just like that. This tone, this boldness, there was no one else who could match him. Then what do you mean by the deal you mentioned just now? Li Xuan asked again. I've more or less understood the situation on the Sirius Star. I have a common goal with the Li family. I'll help you destroy the Black Blood Gang, but I want the Li family's immortal techniques and forbidden techniques. Besides that, The firmament star may establish diplomatic relations with the Sirius star in the future, so I want the Li family to facilitate things for the firmament star. Chu Kuangren said calmly. That was the reason why he saved Li Shuiying. He had seen the power of the Li family's immortal techniques and forbidden techniques just now, and that piqued his interest. He did not mind learning one more immortal technique. I'm afraid I can't make that decision. It doesn't matter. As long as you agree, I can help you become the Li family's head. When that time comes, you can make the decision. Chu Kuangren said casually. The corner of Li Shuiying's mouth twitched. She finally understood that this was an unfair deal. Chu Kuangren had full control over this deal, and the Li family had no right to negotiate with him. Dear customer, your wine. At that moment, a waiter came up with a pot of wine. I didn't ask for wine. My shopkeeper admires the poetic sword fairy very much. This pot of wine is a gift from my shopkeeper. The waiter smiled flatteringly. Oh, please thank your shopkeeper for me then. Chu Kuangren grinned. He raised the pot of wine, poured himself a cup, and downed it in one gulp. He continued to say to Li Shuiying, actually, rather than calling this a deal, it's more like I'm giving the Li family an opportunity. Seize it, and the Li family will rise from the ashes. If you refuse, I won't lose anything. On the contrary, the Li family will cease to exist. He drank as he spoke. Li Shuiying wanted to pour herself a cup or two too, but he slapped her hand away. Petty, Li Shuiying pouted. All right, I agree. She nodded. Just like what Chu Kuangren said, the Li family had no other choice. Very well. To show my sincerity, I promise you that within a month, the Black Blood Gang will be erased from the Sirius star. Chu Kuangren downed the last cup of wine in the pot. As soon as he finished speaking, with a flick of his sleeves, majestic Emperor's chi gushed out like raging waves crashing onto the surrounding void. One after another, figures were blasted out of the void. Some of them could not withstand the powerful Emperor's chi, and their bodies exploded one after another. The customers in the tavern were shocked, and they quickly fled the place. When did this happen? Li Shuiying's expression changed slightly as she looked at the figures that were blasted out of the void. They were all assassins from the Black Blood Gang. Poetic Sword Fairy Chu Kuangren, today is the day you die. A golden-masked assassin said coldly. You're wrong. Today is not the day I die, but the first day of the Black Blood Gang's downfall, Chu Kuangren said. Chapter 889. Inside the inn, a large group of Black Blood Gang assassins arrived. Chu Kuangren remained calm as he looked at the assassins in front of him like they were nothing. With a lift of his arm, Emperor's chi gushed out and blasted the assassins into a mist of blood. Soon, the entire inn was shrouded in the stench of blood. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren stopped. A figure appeared out of thin air. It was a hunchbacked old man with a purple mask hanging on his waist. Purple-masked assassins. Li Shuiying could not help but exclaim. In the Black Blood Gang, the golden-masked assassins were already the top assassins, and above them were the 4 purple-masked assassins. All 4 of them were the Sky Dao Masters. They were the strongest trump cards other than the Black Blood Gang's leader. Hee, Chu Kuangren, do you feel a tightness in your chest and that the Emperor's chi isn't circulating smoothly? Ha, don't worry. In a little while, your meridians, bones, and flesh will feel like they're being bitten by thousands of insects. In the end, your body will be riddled with holes and rot into a hornet's nest. The purple-masked old man chuckled. Li Shuiying felt a chill down her spine. He's the Path of Absolute Poison Master, one of the 4 purple-masked assassins. He specializes in killing with poison and once destroyed a living star with it. Chu Kuangren, how are you feeling? She was in despair. It was not easy for her to find a helper. Was he going to die just like that? However, compared to the flustered Li Shuiying, Chu Kuangren was calm. He said, do you think your poison can kill me? Ha, you're still so stubborn even in the face of death. When did you poison me? Li Xuan asked unwillingly. He, of course, I did it. A man dressed like a waiter walked out. He was the waiter who served Chu Kuangren the wine just now. He was also an assassin from the Black Blood Gang. It was that wine. Li Xuan regained her senses and her expression changed. Something was not right. She wanted to drink it just now. However, Chu Kuangren stopped her. Could it be? Li Xuan thought of something and looked at Chu Kuangren. All she saw was him chuckling and unleashing a palm attack. A burst of alcohol gushed out and landed on the assassins. The waiter was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. He screamed and fell to the ground. His body quickly rotted and turned into a pile of rotten meat. You're not poisoned. Absolute Poison Sect Master's face darkened. Your poison is too low-end. It's not good enough. Chu Kuangren said calmly. He had the Starlight Immortal physique, which made him extremely resistant to poison. On top of that, he also had a Supreme Taoist physique related to poison, the Pestilence Evil physique. Poison him. It was child's play. If he wanted to, he could become a poison grandmaster at any time. Ultimate Poison Hand. The Path of Absolute Poison Taoist raised his arm and charged towards Chu Kuangren. He unleashed a palm attack that blended dark purple poison chi with the Emperor's chi. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren did not dodge or retreat. Instead, he took the attack head-on. Seeing that, the Path of Absolute Poison's face lit up. Fool, there is no one in this world who can survive my poisonous palm strike, not even the Heaven Law Master. Then your world is really small. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Chu Kuangren then activated his Pestilence Evil physique and absorbed all the poison chi from the Path of Absolute Poison Taoist's body into his body. It then merged with the Pestilence Evil physique's unique poison chi and turned into an even more terrifying poison chi. Chu Kuangren reached out his hand and the poison chi landed on the Path of Absolute Poison Taoist's face. It flowed into his body through his orifices and pores. No, this is impossible. How can there be such a poison chi? The Path of Absolute Poison Taoist's expression changed drastically. He tried to suppress the poison chi that was rampaging within his body, but he realized that his poison techniques could not suppress it. Chu Kuangren's poison techniques were even more terrifying than his own. Not long after, the Path of Absolute Poison Taoist's face turned green, his lips turned purple, and his aura became extremely weak. Run! Without any hesitation, the Path of Absolute Poison Taoist fled into the distance. With his best technique being countered, he was no match for Chu Kuangren. However, there was no way he could escape from Chu Kuangren. A ball of phoenix fire burst out from his back. Not long after, his entire body was burned to ashes. The Heaven Law Master had fallen. Li Xuan was dumbfounded. That was not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry. That was the Heaven Law Master. There were not many Heaven Law Masters in the entire Sirius Star. No, even in the entire Purple Gold Galaxy, the Heaven Law Masters were the pinnacle existences. Yet, Chu Kuangren had easily killed one of them. Was this the true strength of the Poetic Sword Sage? It was much more terrifying than the rumors made it out to be. What realm are you in now? Li Xuan stared straight into Chu Kuangren's eyes and asked. Tao Master. Chu Kuangren answered honestly. With a lift of his arm, he gathered his spiritual chi and easily killed a few golden-masked assassins who were trying to escape like him. Then how did you kill the Heaven Law Master so easily? Are you talking about the Path of Absolute Poison Taoist? He's just a third-rate cultivator. He's the weakest Heaven Law Master I've ever seen. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The Path of Absolute Poison Taoist was an expert in using poison. Now that Chu Kuangren had countered the Path of Absolute Poison Taoist's poison technique, his combat strength was definitely the lowest among all the Heaven Law Masters. Li Xuan's mouth twitched. Even if he's the weakest Heaven Law Master, he's still a Heaven Law Master. You're a great Tao Master, yet you killed him just like that. you're just ignoring the difference in realms. Li Xueyin took a deep breath to calm herself down. When she recalled all the rumors about Chu Kuangren, she felt that she, the daughter of the Li family, was nothing compared to him. However, it was undeniable that the stronger Chu Kuangren was, the more at ease she felt. After all, he was now the Li family's biggest backer. Let's go. After Chu Kuangren had taken care of all the assassins, he took out a large amount of spiritual marrows from the path of absolute poison Taoists Yin and Yang Ring and gave them to the restaurant owner. This amount of spiritual marrows was enough for him to open 10 more restaurants like this one. After that, he asked Li Xueyin to bring him to the Li family's residence. They were going to gather the scattered disciples of the Li family. On the way to the Li family's residence, Li Xueyin also gave Chu Kuangren the Li family's immortal technique, the 4 demonic sun archery arrow, and the Li family's forbidden technique. Sirius Star, Li family. The once glorious archery family, which was also the strongest cultivator family on the Sirius Star, had now been occupied by the Black Blood Gang's assassins and transformed into a branch of the Black Blood Gang. Today was the day. An arrow pierced through the air and landed on a Black Blood Gang assassin in front of the Li family's residence, killing him instantly. That arrow alerted all the assassins who occupied the Li family's residence. Who's that? This archery technique, it's someone from the Li family. How dare they come here to die? Not far away from the Li family's residence, Chu Kuangren was slowly walking towards them. Behind him, Li Xueyin was constantly drawing her bow. One after another, arrows flew out. The Black Blood Gang's assassins wanted to dodge, but they were suppressed by an invisible force. They could not move at all. That was Chu Kuangren's mind power. As the arrows flew past, the assassins' blood splattered all over the place. Soon, the Black Blood Gang's assassins who occupied the Li family's residence were all slaughtered. Li family, I'm back. Li Xueyin looked at the residence in front of her and murmured. Then, she looked at the Black Blood Gang's plaque on the residence and smashed it down with her palm. Chapter 890. Chu Kuangren brought Li Xueyin back to the Li family, and the disciples of the Li family who were scattered all over also heard the news. Many of them rushed over. Meanwhile, in the Li family, Chu Kuangren was currently refining a weapon with his phoenix fire. He was refining a bow. After obtaining the Li family's immortal technique, he handed it over to the human soul. The Earth soul went to study it and was almost done with it. Just from its name, one could tell that it was an immortal archery technique. In order to use this immortal technique, one would need a good bow. I've gotten some decent crafting materials from the Black Blood Gang's branch. Now I can use them. Besides, this immortal tendon is finally useful. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He held a white immortal tendon in his hand. He planned to use this immortal tendon as the bowstring of this bow. There was probably only one bow in the entire purple gold galaxy that used the immortal tendon as the bowstring. Coupled with Chu Kuangren's crafting skills, he might even be able to refine a longbow that was close to an immortal weapon. While Chu Kuangren was crafting, many disciples of the Li family who were scattered all over the Li family had arrived. These people gathered together and were talking about their recent experiences. D**mn it, how D**mn it. One of the former sky prides of the Li family said hatefully, the Black Blood Gang is determined to kill us all. We can't stay on the Sirius Star anymore. But where can we go if we leave the Sirius Star? The purple gold galaxy may be huge, but the Black Blood Gang has eyes all over the place. Unless we hide our identities, it's hard not to be found. That's right. Besides, if we go to other places, other civilizations might not accept us. It's too difficult to rebuild in other civilizations, not to mention the threat of the Black Blood Gang. Everyone was talking at once. They were a little desperate. In particular, after these days of fleeing in a sorry state, they had worn down their morale. The Black Blood Tower was like a guillotine, hanging above their heads at all times, and could fall down at any time, causing them to be constantly on edge. Everyone, I've gathered everyone here today because I have a way to turn the situation around, Li Xuan said to everyone. She then proceeded to tell him about Chu Kuangren's story. Everyone looked at each other when they heard her. Poetic sword god Chu Kuangren. He actually came to Sirius. I've heard rumors before. I thought they were just rumors, but it turns out to be true. Where is the poetic sword saint now? A Li family elder asked. He is in seclusion, said Li Shuiying. You gave him the Li clan's immortal arts? Yes. Li Shuiying nodded. What a fool. The Li family elder could not help but shake his head. What if Chu Kuangren suddenly changes his mind? There's no doubt that Chu Kuangren's purpose in coming to the Sirius Star this time is to target the Black Blood Gang. He's the key to us turning the tables. I'll give him the immortal technique first to show our sincerity in our cooperation. If he goes back on his word, we'll die sooner or later. It doesn't matter whether we give him the immortal technique or not. Li Shuiying said faintly. Furthermore, if Chu Kuangren wanted the immortal technique, Chu Kuangren could just snatch it away by force. There was no way he could stop him, so he might as well take the initiative and hand it over. Poetic sword god, Chu Kuangren. This person's name has been resounding in the Purple Gold Galaxy recently, but can he really deal with the Black Blood Gang? You should know that the Black Blood Hall Master is no ordinary Heaven Law Master. There were also some who did not think highly of Chu Kuangren. Although Chu Kuangren was very famous, they had never seen his true strength. However, the Black Blood Hall Master was different. He had killed the Li family head, and that strength was deeply engraved in their hearts. No matter what, this is our only hope. Li Shuiying said. There's no hope for all of you. At that moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. Following that, a few extremely powerful domineering auras instantly locked onto the entire Li family residence. Li Shuiying and the others' expressions changed slightly. In the sky above the Li family residence, 3 figures were floating. They were 2 men and 1 woman, and all of them were wearing purple masks. The purple-masked assassins of the Black Blood Gang. Besides these people, there were also many silver-masked and gold-masked assassins who had surrounded the entire Li family residence. Relentless Swordsman, the Path Master of Chaotic Minds, the Path Master of Black Fox, and the other 3 purple-masked assassins of the Black Blood Gang. They're all here. What a terrifying aura. Li Shuiying's expression was extremely solemn. Then, she took out a rune and cast it in mid-air. In an instant, a large number of Taoist patterns intertwined in the void and formed into a runic enchanted boundary that enveloped the entire Li family residence. Oh, it seems like you already knew that we would come. The purple-masked assassin, the Path Master of Black Fox, said coldly. Of course. This is a seal that Brother Chu set up. Even the Path Master of Sky would need some time to break it. Li Shuiying said calmly. Where is Chu Kuangren? Relentless Swordsman said coldly. He was the most powerful among the 3 purple-masked assassins. When he mentioned Chu Kuangren, a hint of battle intent flashed in his eyes. Let's talk after we break this enchanted boundary. Li Shuiying snorted. Then, she took out her longbow and shot out a series of arrows. The arrows were like rain, exploding in the group of assassins. Some assassins could not dodge in time and were hit by the arrows. The other Li family disciples had also made their moves. After being hunted for so long, they channeled their emperor's chi to its limit and shot out a series of arrows to vent their anger. Boom, 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 the void continued to explode. The 3 purple-masked assassins had also made their moves. The emotionless sword was unleashed, and its sword ray covered the sky. The sect master of the Chaotic Minds sect was a woman. She had a charming appearance and a sweet smile. She took out a pitch-black zither and plucked the strings with her 10 fingers. Strands of zither ripples swept out like raging waves, crashing against the barrier. The last one was the Black Fox Taoist master. He was a demonic beast from the Sirius Star, and his surging demonic chi formed a giant black fox avatar behind him. It waved its claws and set off gusts of strong winds on the enchanted boundary. The three heavenly Taoists attacked together, and their terrifying energy caused the runic boundary to tremble. Even the entire Li family residence was on the verge of collapse. After a round of attacks from the heavenly Taoist master, the enchanted boundary dimmed significantly. Just a few more attacks and we'll be able to break this enchanted boundary. When that time comes, not only the Li family, but even that poetic sword fairy Chu Kuangren will also die here. I heard that he killed the young master in the branch division. Whoever kills him will not only receive the original bounty reward, but also a special reward from the Lord Leader. Not bad, the three heavenly Taoists seemed to have thought of something, and their eyes were filled with excitement. They could not help but increase the strength of their attacks. With a loud bang, the runic boundary was completely shattered. Li Xuan looked into the distance with an anxious look in her eyes. The rest of the people felt their hearts skip a beat, feeling a little hopeless. Kill! The emotionless sword said coldly. However, at that moment, ripples appeared in the void, and a dazzling beam of light shot out from afar. Within that beam of light, countless Taoist patterns flowed. Vaguely, a purplish-red longbow appeared, emanating waves of powerful fluctuations. Is that a Taoist weapon? Such a powerful Taoist weapon fluctuation. It's a heavenly Taoist weapon. No, I'm afraid its aura far surpasses that of an ordinary heavenly Taoist weapon. I can't believe the Li family hid such a treasure. Chapter 891. The Li family mansion. The bow had appeared. A powerful Tao artifact ripple spread like a tide. More than half of the Sirius Star's experts could feel this ripple. In an instant, streams of light swept toward the Li family mansion. Such a powerful Tao artifact ripple. It's definitely a top-notch heavenly Tao artifact. No, it might even be in existence close to an immortal artifact. We can't miss such a treasure. Even if we can't get it, it's good to take a look. Soon, many experts arrived outside the Li family mansion. They also saw the large number of Black Blood Tower assassins. Their hearts skipped a beat when they saw this group of assassins. They did not dare to get too close. The people from Black Blood Tower are here so quickly. No, there are also people from the Li family. If I'm not wrong, the assassins from Black Blood Tower are here to eliminate the remaining members of the Li family. Wait, that's a bow. And it's within the Li family's territory. Could this be the Li family's hidden treasure? No, the Li family's strongest Sirius bow has long been taken away by the Black Blood Tower master. If there was such a treasure, the Li family would have used it long ago. There's no need to wait until now to take it out. Then where did this bow come from? Wait, look at that string. Suddenly, a knowledgeable cultivator seemed to have discovered something. He looked at the string of the purple gold longbow and could not help but swallow his saliva. The string was crystal clear like jade and emitted rays of immortal radiance. This was an immortal tendon. Immortal tendon. Using immortal tendon as a string. What kind of weapon refiner is this? How could he have such a skill? This is ridiculous. A weapon refiner said in shock. In his opinion, the most powerful weapon refiner in the purple gold galaxy should be the virtual immortal Dust Sky. However, even the virtual immortal Dust Sky had never heard of him using immortal materials to forge a Tao artifact. This was probably the first time in the purple gold galaxy. This bow is mine, the Black Blood Tower. The Black Fox Tao Master chuckled. His figure flashed and flew toward the purple-red longbow. However, at this moment, a terrifying imperial chi whizzed out from under the longbow, forcing the Black Fox Tao Master to retreat hundreds of meters. Everyone couldn't help but be attracted to it. Who is it? There was a creak. The door opened. A figure walked out. It was a handsome young man dressed in a gorgeous robe with an ancient white jade sword hanging from his waist. His every movement was extraordinary and refined. Seeing this person, everyone's pupils shrank slightly. It really is him. Poetic Sword Fairy, Chu Kuangren, I've heard too many rumors about this person. This is the first time I've seen him in person. This aura is indeed extraordinary. Everyone discussed animatedly. The three purple-masked assassins looked at Chu Kuangren with a hint of seriousness in their eyes because they felt threatened by him. An unprecedented threat. Absolute Poison Sect Master was killed by this man. Du Ju deserved to die. Who asked him to be so greedy that he dared to hunt down Chu Kuangren all by himself? He should have looked at himself first. However, the three of us purple-masked assassins are here today. No matter how strong the poetic sword god is, he won't be a match for the three of us. According to our intelligence, he's just a late-stage Great Tao Lord. I still have to be careful. Chu Kuangren walked out of the room under the curious and serious gazes of the crowd. He slowly rose into the air and came before the longbow. I've finally succeeded. Chu Kuangren murmured. This longbow was the result of his closed-door meditation for the past few days. Not good, we can't let him get that longbow. The sect master of chaotic mind's gaze froze. Chu Kuangren's strength was already unfathomable. If he were to get his hands on a top-tier heavenly Tao weapon, who knew how much his strength would increase? Kill! The emotionless sword yelled. In an instant, the surrounding assassins gave up on Li Xueyin and the others and charged towards Chu Kuangren, unleashing all sorts of powerful killing techniques. Chu Kuangren remained calm in the face of these attacks. He reached out and grabbed the longbow. At that moment, the aura of the person and the heavenly Tao weapon resonated. Amidst the rumbling, a surge of powerful Emperor's Qi erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. Like a raging wave, it shattered all the incoming attacks. Today, I'll test the power of this longbow on all of you. Chu Kuangren said. He suddenly drew the longbow and aimed it at the sky. Seeing this, the crowd could not help but be shocked. Did the poetic sword god know archery? The intelligence did not mention it. Besides, what kind of posture was that to draw the longbow and aim it at the sky? Could it be? Li Xueyin was the only one who thought of something. Her pupils shrunk and her body trembled as if she had encountered something unbelievable. An arrow that was condensed from Emperor's Qi and phoenix flames formed on the bowstring. A surge of mysterious and powerful immortal technique rippled. Everyone from the Li family widened their eyes. This is, boom. The bowstring was released. The arrow pierced through the air and flew into the sky. Accompanied by a clear and loud whistling sound, the arrow turned into a gorgeous bird that was completely fiery red. It was one of the four symbols, the vermilion bird. This is bad. This is the four divine sun-shooting arrows, the vermilion bird arrow. The Li family and the Black Blood Gang assassins could not help but be shocked. The vermilion bird soared into the sky and rotated its wings. Thousands of fiery feathers rained down in all directions like a storm, and each fiery feather was an arrow. Thousands of fiery feathers, thousands of arrows. Boom, 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 the group of Black Blood Gang assassins bore the brunt of the attack. Under the rain of arrows, they were all burned into ashes. How can this be? How can he know the Li family's four divine sun-shooting arrows? Is he related to the Li family in some way? Everyone was dumbfounded. This was especially true for the Li family. The four divine sun-shooting arrows was their immortal technique. Even in the Li family, not many people knew it. However, Chu Kuangren had mastered it. Moreover, its power far surpassed theirs. Even if the Li family's head were to come back to life, he would not be able to use it better. The most important thing was, I just gave him this immortal technique a few days ago, and he's already mastered it. How did he do it? Li Xueyin said in disbelief. Even in the history of the Li clan, the fastest cultivator to master this immortal art had taken several decades. However, Chu Kuangren only took a few days. Rumor has it that this person can create his own immortal technique. Looks like it's true. Otherwise, how could he have mastered the four divine sun-shooting arrows so quickly? Li Xueyin's voice was trembling. The poetic sword saint, what kind of person was he? You guys are up next. Chu Kuangren killed most of the assassins with a single arrow. Then, he looked at the 3 purple-masked assassins. All 3 of them were Heavenly Dao Masters. Strike first and gain the upper hand. We can't give him another chance to use his arrows. Relentless Swordsman and the other 2 immediately attacked. Sword Chi, Guqin music, and demonic Chi erupted one after another. However, Chu Kuangren disappeared in the next instant and reappeared on a mountain peak thousands of kilometers away. It was the space conveyor skill. An archer's forte was naturally long-range attacks. Chu Kuangren had the space conveyor skill. He could determine the distance between him and his enemies. From this, one could say that he was a natural-born archer. For Divine Sun Shooting Arrow, Azure Dragon. Chu Kuangren pulled the bowstring and the Emperor's chi surged out, condensing into an arrow. It then shot out and turned into a ferocious azure dragon. The terrifying dragon's aura instantly locked onto Relentless Swordsman. For Divine Sun Shooting Arrow, White Tiger. For Divine Sun Shooting Arrow, Black Tortoise. Chu Kuangren shot out 2 more arrows. The other 2 divine beasts also appeared in the void and attacked the other 2 purple-masked assassins. Chapter 892. The 4 demonic sun arrow was an archery technique that the ancestors of the Li family had obtained from an ancient ruin. This archery technique imitated the images of the 4 famous divine beasts of the universe and was known as the #1 offensive technique in the Sirius star. Chu Kuangren had unleashed its full potential at that moment. Not to mention, he had the support of the treasured bow in his hand. That bow was made of immortal tendons. The 3 divine beasts leaped into the air and charged at the 3 purple-masked assassins. The emotionless sword roared and swung the long sword in his hand. He channeled his Taoist Emperor's chi to its limit and unleashed a sword ray that covered the sky. That sword attack was cold and merciless as it froze the void. On the other side, the Path Master of the Disordered Mind and the Black Fox Taoist sensed an unprecedented threat and activated their most powerful cultivation techniques. The Path Master of the Disordered Mind plucked the Guqin strings with all 10 fingers, causing sound waves to ripple out towards the Black Tortoise. Meanwhile, the Black Fox Taoist's chi surged and turned into a giant black fox avatar. It waved its claws and gusts of demonic wind blew. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 purple-masked assassins faced off against the 3 arrows, causing 3 earth-shattering explosions. Violent Emperor's chi and Taoist patterns covered half the sky. When the dust settled, a tattered zither and the broken corpse of a black demon fox could be seen lying on the ground. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw that. The Guqin represented the Path Master of the Disordered Mind, and the Black Fox Demon was the Black Fox Taoist. Both of them were killed by a single arrow. Only the emotionless sword was left standing in the void. However, he was not in a good state either. He was severely injured by the Azure Dragon arrow, and half of his body was almost blown up. His aura was extremely weak. 3 arrows killed 2 Heavenly Dao Masters and severely injured one. The Heavenly Dao Masters who were attracted by the scene were in disbelief and could not help but stare at Chu Kuangren. The Li family was the same. The 4 demonic sun arrow is even more powerful than our masters. I can't believe the poetic sword sage's archery skills have reached such a level. By the heavens, only the sky prides of the Li family have the opportunity to learn the 4 demonic sun arrow, and each of them has to spend many years to master it. Not only did he master it in a few days, but he has also reached such a level. Is he even human? Monster, on a distant mountain peak. Chu Kuangren looked at the relentless sword who had blocked his arrow and smirked. I'm really sorry. I've only just mastered this archery technique, so I'm not very familiar with it yet. That's why I couldn't kill you in one shot. Hearing this, Emotionless Sword's face turned green. However, he knew very well that he was no match for Chu Kuangren. Not daring to stay any longer, he turned around and fled into the distance. But then, he felt a chill coming from behind. Turning your back to an archer, how stupid. Chu Kuangren's indifferent voice rang out. Bang! It was the sound of the bowstring vibrating. A dragon roar resounded. The azure dragon arrow shot out again. The azure dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, soared into the sky and landed fiercely on emotionless Sword's body from behind, blasting him into a bloody mist. Now, the 4 purple-masked assassins of the Black Blood Tower had fallen. Chu Kuangren looked at the bow in his hand and smiled in satisfaction. The 4 beasts shooting sun arrow is a good match for this longbow. This bow is made of immortal tendons and purple gold. Let's call it the Purple Immortal Bow. In a flash, he returned to the Li residence. Everyone looked at him with respect in their eyes. Li Xuan, on the other hand, had an uncontrollable admiration in her eyes. Greetings, Brother Chu. An elder of the Li family stepped forward and said respectfully. He glanced at the Purple Immortal Bow in Chu Kuangren's hand and his eyes burned with passion. Just like a sword and a swordsman, a treasured bow would be a great help to a cultivator who practiced archery. However, although he desired it, he did not dare to have any evil thoughts. Chu Kuangren's strength was there for all to see. A single arrow was enough to kill 10 of him. How many experts are left in the Li family? Chu Kuangren nodded slightly and asked. The elder of the Li family sighed helplessly. There are less than 20 Dao Lords in the Li family that can still be mobilized. 20. That's enough. The elder of the Li family was stunned. 20 Dao Lords were enough to deal with the Black Blood Tower. That had to be a joke. I'm talking about the junior Dao Lords. There are only 2 or 3 great Dao Lords left. As for the Heavenly Dao Lord, only one of their forefathers is still in hibernation. The elder of the Li family added. Apart from the Heavenly Dao Lord, the rest of the Dao Lords combined were no match for the Black Blood Tower's master. Even if the hibernating Heavenly Dao Lord were to awaken, he would not be a match for the Black Blood Tower's master. That's enough. Chu Kuangren said. He did not plan to rely on the Li family's strength to deal with the Black Blood Tower. These Dao Lords were the Li family's trump card to ensure that they could continue to rule the Sirius Star after he eradicated the Black Blood Tower. As long as the Li family could rule the Sirius Star, he could continue to trade with the Li family. That way, it would be more convenient for him to establish relations with the Firmament Star in the future. Brother Chu, what should we do next? Li Xuan asked. However, at that moment, the elder of the Li family suddenly received a message and his expression changed slightly. Elder, what's wrong? Li Xuan asked. It's a message from the lady of the Li family. She said that the Black Blood Tower has discovered the forefathers' hibernation. Now, the Black Blood Tower's master is heading there with assassins to kill the forefather, the elder of the Li family said coldly. When the others heard this, they all revealed looks of panic. What? How could this be? The forefather is the last pillar of our Li family. If he's killed, I'm afraid the Li family will not be able to turn the situation around. No, we can't let the Black Blood Tower have their way. But how are we a match for the Black Blood Tower's master? Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren. Only he could go against the Black Blood Tower's master. Is the Black Blood Tower's master on the move? That's great. It saves me the trouble of looking for him, Chu Kuangren said calmly. He decided to go to the forefathers' hibernation. Once the Black Blood Tower's master was taken care of, the Black Blood Tower would no longer be a threat. Celestial Snow Mountain. This was the hibernation place of the Li family's forefather. This forefather was extremely powerful as he was a late-stage Sky Master. However, because he was severely injured in his early years, he could only use hibernation to slow down his injuries. That was why he had been lingering in this world. After witnessing the Black Blood Tower's master's strength, Li Xuan and the others did not place their hopes on this forefather to defeat him. Their biggest hope was that the forefather would lead them to other civilizations to expand their territory and rebuild the Li family. As for revenge, that would be left to the future generations. However, as an assassin organization, the Black Blood Tower's creed was, to kill everyone. How could they let this forefather go? Therefore, the Black Blood Tower's master sent people to follow the Li family's eldest daughter and find the hibernation place of the Li family's forefather. Then, he personally brought people to destroy the Li family's last pillar of support. Deep within the Sky Snow Mountains mountain range, a giant runic enchanted boundary shrouded the area. On the outside, there were assassins continuously attacking the enchanted boundary. Inside the enchanted boundary, there was a beautiful lady with a longbow on her back. This lady was the Li family's eldest daughter, Li Shuefei. At this time, she was relying on the enchanted boundary of the Li family's forefathers' hibernation place to resist the Black Blood Tower's assassins. Behind her, there was an ice coffin. An old man laid in the ice coffin. It was the Li family's forefather. However, the enchanted boundary would not last long. When that happened, she and the Li family's forefather would most likely perish here. The heavens really want the Li family to die. Chapter 893. Sky Snow Mountain. Within the Li family ancestors' slumber, Li Shuefei was struggling to hold on. The longbow in her hand was constantly pulling the bowstring and shooting arrows, pulling the bowstring and shooting arrows. Like a machine, she killed the killers who were constantly approaching the barrier. However, this still couldn't stop the barrier from crumbling. And this was not the biggest threat. Not far from the boundary, on a mountain peak, stood a middle-aged man in a black robe, staring coldly at the boundary. This person was the master of the Black Blood Hall. "Tower Master, why don't you just destroy this barrier?" An assassin next to the Black Blood Tower Master asked. This killer did not wear any mask, but his aura was not much weaker than any purple-masked killer. The Black Blood Hall Master said faintly, "I just received news that the 3 purple-masked assassins who went to kill Chu Kuangren are all dead." Upon hearing that, the assassin's expression changed. Those are 3 heavenly Tao Masters we're talking about. Is Chu Kuangren really that powerful? Yes, he's stronger than I thought. What does this have to do with the OP not taking action? This Li Shuefei and even the Li family's elder ancestor behind her are nothing to be afraid of, but they are bait. I can use them to lure the rest of the Li family's experts and even Chu Kuangren over. The master of Black Blood Hall said lightly. Upon hearing that, the assassin finally understood. However, he could not help but say worriedly, if Chu Kuangren were to join forces with the Li family's elder ancestor, I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with them. The current me is invincible on Sirius. Chu Kuangren and the crippled Heavenly Tao Master are nothing to be afraid of. The Black Blood Tower Master's eyes revealed a hint of confidence. Faintly, his body revealed an indescribably terrifying pressure that caused the nearby assassins to be unable to help but tremble. It was as if he was facing the might of the heavens. Ever since the Tower Master came out of seclusion and killed the Li family's patriarch, you seem to have changed. Your aura is even more unfathomable. The group of assassins secretly exclaimed. Their eyes faintly revealed a wisp of reverence and adoration. That was the assassins longing for the King of Assassins. Heavenly Snow Mountain, within the boundary. More than half of the Emperor energy in Li Shuefei's body had been consumed. A pair of slender fingers had ruptured due to the repetitive pulling of the bow, causing blood to seep out. She did not know how many arrows she had shot. He only knew the repetitive action of drawing the bow and shooting the arrow mechanically. Bang! At this moment, there was a loud noise. The bowstring in Li Shuefei's hands suddenly broke, and the Emperor's chi dissipated from the bowstring, causing her to suffer a backlash. The string broke? Li Shuefei stared blankly at the bow in her hand. She remembered. When she was being chased, this bow had been slashed by the assassins several times and was already damaged. In addition, she had used it so many times just now. This great Daoist treasure bow finally couldn't hold on any longer. Looks like this is the end. Li Shuefei sighed. An archer without a bow would lose at least half of his combat power. At this moment, a strange sound came from behind her. The old man in the ice coffin suddenly opened his eyes. With a bang, the ice coffin exploded. The old man sat up. He looked around and released his majestic Tharch consciousness. Soon, he understood what had happened on the Sirius star recently. I never thought that my Li family would actually fall to such a state. Li family elder sighed. Patriarch. Li Shuefei's face lit up when she saw him wake up. The Li clan elder nodded. Child, you've suffered. Leave the rest to me. He got up and walked out of the ice coffin. Then, he slapped the ice coffin, shattering it. Among the ice crystal shards that filled the sky, a light blue longbow emitting cold air and Tao patterns appeared. Li Shuefei's eyes lit up, ice divine bow. According to what she knew, this patriarch's bow was made from 1,000,000-year-old mystic ice. It was very powerful. In the Li family, it could be said to be a treasure bow that was on par with the Sirius bow. Traitor of my Li family, feel the power of the ice divine bow. Elder Li said coldly. He grabbed the bowstring and pulled it. An ice crystal arrow emitting cold air condensed. With a swoosh, the arrow pierced through the sky. Everywhere it went, the assassins were frozen into ice sculptures by the cold air on the arrow. This arrow was like a hot knife through butter. It wrapped with cold air and shot towards the Master of Black Blood Tower who was on the mountain peak far away. Facing this arrow, the Master of Black Blood Tower sneered. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm, easily shattering the ice crystal arrow into pieces. However, the shattered ice crystals still shot out in all directions. Some assassins couldn't dodge in time and were killed on the spot. Oh, as expected of the sleeping elderly family. You do have some strength. The Master of Black Blood Tower said softly. Elderly looked at the Master of Black Blood Tower indifferently. He pulled the ice divine bow in his hand again. Today, I will kill you here and avenge the countless disciples of my Li family. His emperor's chi surged. The cold air between heaven and earth madly gathered towards him and condensed into another ice crystal arrow. At the same time, a powerful wave of celestial technique spread out. For symbols shooting sun, white tiger. The ice arrow pierced through the sky. The majestic cold air transformed into a giant white tiger. With a soaring murderous aura, it shocked many assassins. However, the Master of Black Blood Tower's expression was still extremely calm. He slowly raised his hand and a dark red long saber appeared in his hand. With a slash of the saber, the dark and cold saber radiance wrapped with a murderous aura that was even more chilling than the cold. The giant white tiger was slashed into pieces by the saber radiance. The Massacre Dao. No wonder he's the king of assassins. Elder Li's expression turned solemn. Every cultivator who cultivated the Massacre Dao was the best at close combat. Their combat power was the best among those in the same realm. Elder Li, I heard that you are in deep sleep here due to serious injuries. I wonder how much of your injuries have healed and how many arrows can you shoot? The Master of Black Blood Tower said indifferently. He waved the dark red long saber in his hand lightly. Another saber radiance that was tens of thousands of zhang long slashed out and shattered the barrier. Humph, let's try again. Elder Li shielded Li Shuefei behind him. The ice frost divine bow in his hand shot out arrows one after another. Each arrow was the shadow of a divine beast. However, the Master of Black Blood Tower was too powerful. He waved the long saber in his hand continuously. Without using any cultivation technique, the saber radiance shattered the arrows one by one. Child, leave first. I'll hold him back. Elder Li said to Li Shuefei. His eyes revealed a tinge of determination. The Master of Black Blood Tower's strength was beyond his imagination. To defeat him, he could only use the Li clan's forbidden skill. However, his injuries had not fully recovered. Once the forbidden skill was used, he would definitely die. However, Li Shuefei had high potential. In the future, she would definitely be above him. To protect the future of the Li clan, Elder Li could only fight with his life on the line. Want to leave? Where can you go? The Master of Black Blood Tower snorted. Around them, assassins surrounded Li Shuefei and the Li family patriarch. There was no way out at all. Chapter 894. Celestial Snow Mountain. The awakened Li family patriarch and Li Shuefei were in a desperate situation as the killers surrounded them tightly. For Sun Archers, Vermilion Bird. The Li family elder raised his arm and shot an arrow. The Vermilion Bird appeared. However, it was a fire-based technique, which was not compatible with the Frost Dao that he cultivated. Although he could forcefully cast it, its power was much weaker than his other arrow techniques. That being said, the power of this technique was more than enough to deal with some assassins. Thousands of fire feathers scattered in all directions. He wanted to open a path for Li Shuefei. The Black Blood Hall Master knew what he was planning. He waved his long saber and a saber ray was unleashed, setting off a violent saber wind that blocked the thousands of fire feathers' arrows. Blood slash. The Black Blood Hall Master attacked again. This was the first time he used a cultivation technique, which was an immortal technique that he cultivated. With a slash, a dark red saber ray poured out. The Li family elder's expression changed, and he pulled his bow again. For Sun Archers, Azure Dragon. The Azure Dragon shot out, and the arrow chi turned into an Azure Dragon that bared its fangs and claws. However, it was still no match for the horrifying saber ray that was filled with blood and killing chi. It was forcefully shattered. Not only that, but the saber ray landed on the Li family elder's body and sent him flying. For Sun Archers, just as so. The Black Blood Hall Master sneered. Oh, try me then. At that moment, an indifferent voice suddenly rang across the sky. Following that, 2 arrows pierced through the sky. One of the arrows turned into a vermilion bird. The vermilion bird spread its wings and turned into thousands of fire feathers arrows that landed on the assassins, killing half of them. The other arrow turned into a white tiger. The white tiger roared, and its roar shook the heavens and earth. The Black Blood Hall Master narrowed his eyes and slashed with his dark red long saber. Majestic Emperor's chi and Taoist patterns spread out like a tide and bombarded the white tiger. The collision of the two forces caused the entire celestial snow mountain to explode. The Black Blood Hall Master retreated a few hundred meters and looked into the void. In the void, a white-robed figure appeared in the sky. His expression was calm, and his gaze was calm. He held a purple-red longbow in his hand, and his aura was extraordinary. It was Chu Kuangren. Behind him were the members of the Li clan. Sister. When Li Xueyin saw Li Shuefei, she quickly rushed over. On the other hand, the Li family's elder looked at Chu Kuangren with a doubtful look in his eyes. Chu Kuangren had used the 4 demonic sun-striking arrow, but its power was much stronger than his own. Not to mention that his treasured bow was also extraordinary. It was even more outstanding than his frost bow. Wait a minute, why was there a sword at his waist? Could it be that the other party also knew the way of the sword? Since when did the Li family have such an archer? Poetic sword god Chu Kuangren, you're finally here. The Black Blood Hall Master stared at Chu Kuangren with a strange look in his eyes. Li family elder was even more confused when he heard this. Surnamed Chu. He wasn't from the Li family. Also, what arrogance, daring to use the name of an immortal. Chu Kuangren and the Black Blood Hall's master stared at each other. 2 completely different and powerful auras collided in an instant. Looks like you were waiting for me. Yes, I'm waiting for you. The Black Blood Hall's master sneered. Just you wait, to kill you. As soon as he said that, the aura on his body became even stronger. A cold murderous intent mixed with the snowstorm, making the surroundings even colder. The members of the Li family could not help but shudder. They looked at the Black Blood Hall's master with fear in their eyes. Kill me? Ha, many people have said the same thing to me before. But now, they have all reunited in the underworld. Chu Kuangren chuckled with disdain in his eyes. At the same time, the spirit of omniscience, Shao AI, was activated. He had analyzed the Black Blood Hall's master thoroughly, but what surprised him was that the Black Blood Hall's master was actually a clone. Not only that, this clone actually had heavenly Tao energy within its body. The other party was a star master. Chu Kuangren was excited. A clone and heavenly Tao energy. Looks like you've given me quite a lot of surprises. Upon hearing that, the Black Blood Hall's master's eyes shrunk. How is this possible? How could you tell? One should know that this clone of his was extremely powerful. It could even be said to be the same as the original. He had spent countless materials and effort to refine it, so it could be said to be a second Black Blood Hall's master. No one had ever been able to see through his true self. However, Chu Kuangren had seen through it with just a glance. This made him even more wary of Chu Kuangren. The legendary poetic sword sage is extremely cunning and has an endless number of trump cards. It seems that you also have a powerful sensory technique. The Black Blood Hall's master calmed himself down and said, "There's still a lot more that you don't know." Chu Kuangren said. He raised the purple divine bow in his hand, pulled the bowstring, and formed an arrow. In one breath, he continuously performed the 4 sun-striking divine archery technique. 4 divine beast silhouettes appeared and charged towards the Black Blood Hall's master. An incredibly powerful force instantly shattered the void where the Black Blood Hall was, as well as the dozens of golden-masked assassins around him. That power made the Li family members, who were experts in archery, gulp. Even the Li family's elder ancestor was shocked. I can't believe my Li family's immortal technique could unleash such a powerful force on an outsider's phone. It's stronger than any of us. This is simply inconceivable. Amidst the exclamations, a blood-colored blade ray suddenly erupted. Blood slash. The Black Blood Hall's master unleashed a slash, and the mighty blade ray shattered the 4 divine beast silhouettes one by one. Then, his figure flashed. His speed was so fast that none of the cultivators present could catch a glimpse of him. In the next instant, he appeared in front of Chu Kuangren. Not good. The Li family's elder ancestor exclaimed. An archer that was in close range was extremely dangerous. Die. The Black Blood Hall's master suddenly unleashed a slash. However, at that moment, the descendant self-sword on Chu Kuangren's waist was unsheathed. A cold sword ray bloomed, and the Honorable Emperor's sword art's fluctuations erupted. The sword and the saber collided with each other. The Black Blood Hall's master was blasted hundreds of meters away, crashing into the Sky Snow Mountain's mountain range. With a loud bang, the mountain range cracked, and a huge crater appeared. The Black Blood Hall's master half-knelt in the middle of the crater, his gaze solemn. I say, are you mistaken? Other than the bow and arrow, I still have this descendant self-sword, Chu Kuangren said indifferently. An archer that did not know how to fight in close range was definitely not a good archer. Compared to the newly learned bow and arrow, Chu Kuangren's swordsmanship and close-range combat techniques were much more powerful. Poetic sword god Chu Kuangren, why don't I know about your sword? The Black Blood Hall's master sneered. Then, a suit of armor appeared on his body, and the Emperor's chi surged. Vaguely, countless ferocious spirits were howling around him. In the blink of an eye, the surroundings had turned into an Azura purgatory. A terrifying murderous aura filled the entire area. Even the Li family's elder ancestor's gaze was extremely solemn. What a terrifying Tao of slaughter. The Black Blood Hall's master, the king of assassins, is indeed worthy of his reputation. Surrounded by ferocious spirits, the Black Blood Hall's master held the dark red longsword in his hand. He stared at Chu Kuangren and sneered. Chu Kuangren, I'll let you have a taste of the power of my immortal technique, the massacre scene. Chapter 895. What a rare scene of slaughter. Chu Kuangren looked at the scene of thousands of ghosts wailing before him with a calm expression. He put away the purple fairy bow and slowly descended with the descendant self-sword in his hand. The moment he landed, the ghosts around him automatically dissipated. Although he was in the Azura Hell, he was still as transcendent as ever. His gorgeous white robe was spotless as well. Kill! The Black Blood Hall Master sneered and swung the long sword in his hand. One after another, ferocious ghosts charged towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren stood still in the face of this. He slowly opened his palm, and a golden-red fire lotus bloomed in the void. Boom! The fire lotus exploded, and a terrifying wave of fire swept out. The thousands of ghosts were instantly turned into ashes under the impact of the fire wave. Is this all a scene of slaughter can do? Chu Kuangren said calmly. You haven't experienced the true power of this scene of slaughter. The Black Blood Hall Master sneered, and the ghosts that were burned into ashes by the fire wave reformed again. Oh, there's no end to them. As long as I'm not dead, these ferocious spirits that are formed from my Tao of killing will never cease. The Black Blood Hall Master said. Then, he gripped his dark red longsword and charged towards Chu Kuangren together with the ferocious spirits. The ghosts howled, trying to affect Chu Kuangren. The Black Blood Hall Master waved his long sword, and rays of blood-colored sword rays intertwined, forming a dense killing net that completely enveloped Chu Kuangren. With a single thought, 10,000 rivers of frost and snow. Chu Kuangren's Emperor's essence and mind power were activated at the same time. The lunar immortal physique was also activated. A terrifying chill was unleashed, and countless ghosts were frozen. Even the sword ray that the Black Blood Hall Master unleashed was frozen for a moment. That moment was enough for Chu Kuangren to find an opening. He took a step forward and thrust out the Descendant Self-Sword. The sword ray flashed and pierced the black armor that the Black Blood Hall Master was wearing. His physical strength and sword chi exploded at the same time. The attack sent the Black Blood Hall Master flying. However, the armor was so tough that the sword could not completely break through it. Chu Kuangren activated his mind power. A gigantic colorful rune was formed, and 9 colorful divine dragons soared into the sky before entering Chu Kuangren's body. It was the Divine 9 Dragon Transformation Talisman. Amidst the explosion, Chu Kuangren /S aura skyrocketed. It was almost at the threshold of the Heavenly Tao Master Realm. However, his battle prowess was far greater than that of an ordinary Lord of the Heaven Law. Honorable Emperor Sword Art. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed another slash. A huge Emperor Dharma form condensed, and sword chi circulated in the center of its palm, condensing into a huge sword shadow that fell toward the master of the Black Blood Hall. Accompanied by a loud bang, the entire scene of slaughter shook. Chu Kuangren suddenly let out a soft gasp. Under the golden sword shadow, a large dark red hand appeared on the Black Blood Hall's master's body and blocked the sword shadow. The scene of slaughter, the appearance of the Ghost King. The master of the Black Blood Hall shouted coldly. Countless malicious ghosts gathered towards him, and the dark red hand pressed down on the ground as if an extremely terrifying existence was crawling out from the ground. Very soon, the figure appeared. It was a ferocious-looking Dharma form with 3 heads and 6 arms. Boundless murderous chi and resentment surged out from the Dharma form. Is this the true power of your immortal technique? Chu Kuangren said. Then, the Emperor /S chi circulated behind him, and surges of different Taoist physique fluctuations spread out, forming a huge colorful Dharma form. The 10,000 Dharma forms had condensed. Chu Kuangren had used a technique against an Dharma form. With his current cultivation level, he once again displayed the 10,000 Daos. The terrifying power was vast and mighty, crashing into the entire scene of slaughter. Amidst the explosion, the 10,000 Dharma forms and the Ghost King Dharma form collided, and the snowstorm on the entire sky snow mountain instantly dissipated. Even the mountains within a radius of 10,000 kilometers were razed to the ground. The terrifying impact forced the remaining assassins and the people of the Li family to retreat dozens of kilometers away as they channeled their Emperor /S chi to defend themselves. As the 2 great Dharma forms clashed, the shockwaves that erupted swept across all directions like a natural disaster. Boom, 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 the Dharma forms collided one after another, and for a while, they were evenly matched. The Black Blood Hall /S master was a little shocked. I can /T believe this guy has such a technique up his sleeves. /T this Dharma form a little too strange. After fighting for a while, the Black Blood Hall /S master still could not suppress Chu Kuangren. On the contrary, Chu Kuangren seemed to be quite relaxed. He was calm and unpressured. Is this all the King of Assassins can do? Chu Kuangren activated the heavenly Tao energy within his body. Under the unification Taoist realm, the 10,000 Dharma forms /power increased again. Do you think you /Re the only one who has the heavenly Tao energy? Heavenly Tao, combine. Feeling the pressure, the Black Blood Hall /S master let out a long roar as he felt a surge of energy imbue his body. That was the Sirius Star /S heavenly Tao energy. From afar, the Li family /S forefather /S expression changed. The heavenly Tao energy. The Black Blood Hall /S master has become the Sirius Star /S master. He took a deep breath as realization dawned on him. No wonder the Li family lost. The Black Blood Hall /S master was already a star master. On the Sirius Star, even the heavenly Tao was on his side. How could the Li family win? I /V been waiting for you to use this technique. Chu Kuangren /S eyes lit up when he saw that. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the Black Blood Hall /S master. Sanguine slash. The Black Blood Hall /S master immediately swung his sword. A blood-colored sword ray appeared. Chu Kuangren did not dodge or evade the attack. Instead, he used the Descendant Self Sword to negate most of the attack /S power before allowing the attack to land on his body. Even the remaining power was enough to kill the Heavenly Tao Master. However, that was nothing to Chu Kuangren /S Starlight Immortal Physique, not to mention that he also had a defensive Heavenly Tao weapon. That attack only caused his body to tremble slightly. Next, Chu Kuangren grabbed the Black Blood Hall /S master /S hand and an incredibly mysterious fluctuation erupted from his body. That fluctuation caused the heavenly Tao energy within the Black Blood Hall /S master to tremble for a moment before it poured out uncontrollably. What? The Black Blood Hall /S master /S eyes trembled violently. He had never encountered something like this before. Just when the Black Blood Hall /S master /S heavenly Tao energy was being devoured, the entire Sirius Star /S heavenly Tao trembled. Countless cultivators sensed it and their expressions changed drastically. The heavenly Tao is reacting. What? What /S going on? Why? Why am I suddenly feeling afraid? No, this ISN /T my emotions. It /S the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was the order of a star /S operation. It was the combination of the star /S will and the will of all living beings. It rarely caused any major disturbances. Now, countless cultivators could sense that the heavenly Tao was trembling. Vaguely, they could feel a wave of panic. It was not because of their panic. It was the heavenly Tao /S panic. The heavenly Tao was afraid. All the cultivators could not help but look at the sky. At that moment, the sky had already changed drastically. Torrential rain poured down and lightning flashed continuously. An unprecedented change had enveloped the entire Sirius Star. The weather is about to change. Some cultivators who were proficient in the Tao of divination looked in the direction of the sky snow mountain and could not help but tremble. Chapter 896. On the sky snow mountain. Chu Kuangren grabbed the Black Blood Hall master and used the heaven-snatching technique and devouring divine Taoist art to absorb the Sirius Star's heavenly Tao. He could clearly feel that the heavenly Tao's power within his body was growing, and the firmament star's heavenly Tao was cheering. It's a success. Ha! The firmament star's heavenly Tao has absorbed part of the origin of heavenly Tao from the base star and the blood source star's heavenly Tao. It's not much weaker than the Sirius star's heavenly Tao. With me as the medium, it's a success. A hint of joy flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes. Meanwhile, the Black Blood Hall Master felt the heavenly Tao's power continuously draining from his body and fell into a panic. He frantically tried to break free from Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren's physical strength was terrifyingly strong. Coupled with the devouring divine Taoist art's effect on the celestial lord who was in the unification Taoist state, it was not easy for him to break free. Chu Kuangren even went up and gave him a few punches when he saw that he was not being honest. The armor on his body was smashed into pieces. He then easily broke his limbs so that he could only lie on the ground obediently and let his heavenly Tao's power be devoured. The spectators were dumbfounded. They did not know what the Black Blood Hall Master was facing. All they saw was that the battle had taken a turn for the worse. At first, they thought that the Black Blood Hall Master would be able to suppress Chu Kuangren with his heavenly Tao's power. However, they did not expect that not only would he not be able to suppress Chu Kuangren, he would also be defeated in a few moves. He was no longer as powerful as he was before. What? What are you doing? The Black Blood Hall Master looked at Chu Kuangren in horror. As the king of assassins, he rarely felt fear. Most of the time, he was the one who saw others fear him. However, he was now truly afraid. An unprecedented fear had enveloped him. Chu Kuangren did not answer the Black Blood Hall Master. Suddenly, a large number of dark clouds gathered above his head. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the dark clouds. The majestic power of lightning surged and enveloped the entire Sirius star. Then, a huge blood-red eye that was filled with murderous intent appeared in the dark cloud vortex. This is the eye of heavenly punishment. Li family elder swallowed his saliva and said. Although he was the master of the heavenly law and his fate was no longer under the jurisdiction of the heavenly law, he still shuddered at the sight of this terrifying eye of heavenly punishment. What exactly did this fellow do to actually make the heaven Tao so furious that it directly opened the eye of heavenly tribulation? This is the most terrifying heavenly tribulation since the ancient times. This is the power of the heavens when it wants to kill a certain existence. Li family ancestor's voice was trembling. All the experts on Sirius saw the eye of heaven punishment. Everyone was shocked. To some of the younger Tao lords, the eye of heavenly tribulation only existed in legends. While Chu Kuangren was devouring the heavenly Tao, he looked at the eye of heavenly punishment in the sky and chuckled. You finally can't sit still anymore. He wasn't surprised by the appearance of the eye of heavenly tribulation. After all, even a fish that was placed on the chopping block would struggle, let alone the heaven Tao. However, no matter how much the fish on the chopping block struggled, it could not escape death. The Sirius star's heavenly Tao was being stared at by him, so it could only be devoured obediently. Die! An extremely cold voice came from the eye of heavenly punishment. An unprecedented heavenly Tao's killing intent shrouded Chu Kuangren's body, and a thick blood-colored thunderbolt struck down from the sky. Chu Kuangren stood his ground and did not dodge. His mind power circulated, and thousands of spiritual power weapons were unleashed. Amidst the explosion, the thunderbolt and the weapons collided, and a large portion of the void collapsed. The eye of heavenly punishment was extremely powerful, and the spiritual power weapons paled in comparison. Many blood-colored thunderbolts landed on Chu Kuangren's body. However, they were easily blocked by the heavenly Tao weapon and starlight immortal physique. They could not hurt him at all. Heavenly Tao, is this all you've got? Chu Kuangren stood proudly and laughed maniacally as he looked at the eye of heavenly punishment. The experts on the Sirius star could not help but tremble violently. This person was fighting against the heavenly Tao. As if enraged, the eye of heavenly punishment's killing intent became even more intense, and blood-colored thunderbolts continued to strike down. The power of each thunderbolt was enough to kill an ordinary heavenly Tao master, and there were more than 10 thunderbolts striking down at the same time. This powerful force caused countless people to feel terrified. Chu Kuangren stood proudly with his white robe fluttering in the wind, his emperor's qi circulating, and his Taoist patterns radiating. He was like an inviolable immortal. Good one. He let out a long roar and channeled his emperor's qi to its limit. With a single thought, all shall be silent, and the heavens and earth shall perish. The phoenix flames, immortal physique's frosty qi, ultimate emperor's qi, and Taoist patterns intertwined and turned into a purplish-red light wave that continuously spread out. The light wave and blood-colored thunderbolts collided one after another. The ground around them crumbled. The entire Sirius star shook, and countless living beings died in this tremor. When the heavens were enraged, hundreds of millions of corpses would be laid to the ground. Everyone's attention was on this battle between man and the heavens. The light wave and the thunderbolts dissipated. However, the result shocked everyone. Chu Kuangren stood still in his white robe, and the attack that was powerful enough to kill dozens of heavenly Tao masters still could not do anything to him. Boom, boom, in the sky, the blood-colored thunderbolts around the Eye of Heavenly Punishment flowed and formed into a giant blood-colored thunderbolt sword that slashed down. Chu Kuangren still did not retreat. The 10,000 Taoist avatar gathered and unleashed a punch. The fist energy disintegrated part of the thunderbolt sword's power. Then, he activated the ultimate reversal technique to disintegrate another part of the thunderbolt's power. The remaining half of the thunderbolt's power blasted towards him. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. With a single thought, all techniques shall perish. An invisible mind power vortex spun. The remaining half of the thunderbolt's power was then reduced by half. Chu Kuangren endured the remaining half of the thunderbolt's power, and the Taoist patterns on his heavenly weapon gradually crumbled. The thunderbolt's power crazily attacked his starlight immortal physique, causing his flesh and bones to crackle. It feels, all right. Chu Kuangren cracked his neck. His defensive power was too terrifying. Coupled with his immortal body, even the heavenly Tao's strongest heavenly punishment couldn't hurt him. You're always the one attacking. This won't do. It's my turn this time. Chu Kuangren took a step forward. Above his head, two Taoist testimonial seals floated into the air, and the heavenly Tao's power that had grown considerably within his body erupted. Honorable Emperor Sword Art. Chu Kuangren's Emperor avatar suddenly materialized. Holding the Descendant Self-sword in his hand, he let out a maniacal laugh and unleashed a golden sword shadow towards the Eye of Heavenly Punishment. That sword attack tore through the void like a hot knife through butter. Accompanied by a loud bang, that sword attack forcefully landed on the Eye of Heavenly Punishment. Crack, crack, the sky split open. The Eye of Heavenly Punishment shattered, turning into a rain of blood that rained down from the sky. All the strong cultivators were dumbfounded at the sight. The heavenly Tao has been defeated. Oh my God, how can the poetic sword sage be this strong? He can actually defeat the heavenly Tao. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back. The Taoist testimonial seal above his head shone brightly as he looked at the sky full of blood and sneered. Heavens, that's all there is to it. Chapter 897. Chu Kuangren had single-handedly defeated the heavens. His tyrannical strength had completely subdued everyone present. The name of Poetic Sword Fairy would be imprinted in their minds for a long time to come. After destroying the Eye of Heavenly Punishment, the Heavenly Tao's power of the Heavenly Tao was quickly absorbed by the firmament's Heavenly Tao under the effect of the engulfing divine Taoist art. The strong cultivators of the Sirius star sensed something. They were all horrified. The Heavenly Tao has disappeared. The Heavenly Tao of the Sirius star has disappeared. From now on, the Heavenly Tao of the Sirius star will no longer exist. It will be much more difficult for countless cultivators to attain the Tao. Poetic Sword Fairy is destroying the future of the Sirius star cultivators. How could he do this? Whoosh, whoosh, several figures rushed in front of Chu Kuangren. These people were the top cultivators of the Sirius star. Now that the heavenly Tao of the Sirius star had been devoured, they could no longer sit still. Poetic sword fairy, how could you devour the heavenly Tao of the Sirius star? An old man questioned. Chu Quanren did not say a word. He only raised the descendant self-sword in his hand, the emperor's chi circulated around his body, and the seal of authentication above his head emanated a mysterious brilliance. Endless Taoist patterns spread and powerful fluctuations swept out. He unleashed a sword strike. A golden sword shadow formed, and the questioning old man's pupils shrank. He was sliced in half without any resistance. A mist of blood exploded, and the scene fell into dead silence. Does anyone else have any objections? Chu Quanren's gaze swept across the crowd. A chill ran down everyone's spine. It was too terrifying. He killed a heavenly Tao master in one move. How could he be a great Tao master with such strength? It was unbelievable. No one dared to object. Seeing that no one dared to speak, Chu Quanren then looked at the Black Blood Hall master not far away and slashed out with his sword, killing him. However, it was just a clone. His real body was still hiding somewhere on the Sirius star. However, he had already devoured the heavenly Tao of the Sirius star, so the Black Blood Hall master was no longer a threat to him. Of course, he did not plan to let him go either. Bring me to the Black Blood Hall headquarters. Chu Quanren looked at the surviving gold-masked assassin and said. These people did not dare to disobey. Very soon, Chu Quanren arrived at a secluded mountain range in the Sirius star. There were countless restrictions and formations set up there, and at first glance, it looked like an ordinary mountain range. One would never imagine that this place was the headquarters of the famous Black Blood Gang, with countless assassins lurking around. Upon Chu Quanren's arrival, his domineering aura swept across the entire mountain range like a raging tidal wave. Under the activation of the Emperor's chi, the entire mountain range shook violently. All seals and formations were easily destroyed. Countless assassins rushed out from their hiding places. As if they had long anticipated Chu Quanren's arrival, a group of black-robed cultivators charged towards him from all directions. Chu Quanren's eyes flashed. Oh, interesting. I can't believe there are still people who dare to attack me. This is a death warrior. Chu Quanren's eyes flashed as he determined the identity of these people. Death warriors were people who did not fear death. Scarier than killers. Assassins would still fear death and think about benefits, but death warriors would obey their master's orders. Even if they were to die, they would not complain. The group of black-robed cultivators were the death warriors nurtured by the Black Blood Hall master. A bunch of sad fellows. Chu Quanren said indifferently. His white robe was otherworldly as Taoist patterns and Emperor's chi circulated around his body. With a single thought, circles of light waves spread out, and the majestic force killed the death warriors one by one, turning them into a rain of blood. At that moment, a pillar of light shot up into the sky from the depths of the mountain range. Chu Quanren's figure flashed and arrived at the depths of the mountain range. He saw a high platform with Taoist patterns circulating on it, and the light was gradually fading away. Oh, this is a teleportation formation. Chu Quanren could determine the purpose of this high platform with just a glance. It was obvious that the Black Blood Hall master had used this teleportation formation to escape, and the death warriors were only there to delay him. There were a few assassins beside the teleportation formation. He raised his hand and grabbed an assassin by the neck. Where does this teleportation array lead to? He asked indifferently. The assassin did not dare to hide anything. It goes to the disordered star ocean. The disordered star ocean? Chu Quanren was deep in thought. He had heard of this place before when he was in Mystic Moon City. The disordered star ocean, as the name suggested, was the most chaotic place in the purple gold galaxy. Bandits ran rampant there, and it was a land of chaos. What's the Black Blood Hall master doing there? Why is there a teleportation formation here that leads to the disordered star ocean? Chu Quanren asked. The Hall Master is good friends with the Sky Wind Bandit from the disordered star ocean. He has set up a teleportation formation here for them to meet. Oh. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. The Sky Wind Bandit was the king of bandits in the disordered Star Ocean. Rumor had it that this person was the king of bandits in the disordered Star Ocean. Even immortal civilizations like the Purple Gold Galaxy dared to rob them there. One is the king of bandits, and the other is the king of assassins. These two mafia leaders of the Purple Gold Galaxy are quite compatible. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Then, he raised his hand and killed all the assassins there before he looted the Black Blood Hall without restraint. The Black Blood Hall master had escaped in a hurry, so he did not take the Black Blood Hall's wealth with him. Once I'm done with the matters on the Sirius Star, my next stop will be the chaotic Star Ocean. I'll get rid of the Black Blood Hall master once and for all. Chu Kuangren muttered. Back at the heavenly snow mountain range. Li family elder and the others had already dealt with the aftermath. Meanwhile, the Li family's elder had also heard about Chu Kuangren from Li Xuan. When he saw that Chu Kuangren had returned, he had a complicated look in his eyes. On the one hand, it helped the Li family, and on the other hand, it devoured the heavenly Tao of Sirius. Many thanks for your help, fellow Taoist Chu. Chu Kuangren could even devour the heavenly Tao now. If the Li family wanted to regain their former glory, they could only rely on Chu Kuangren now. I'll treat your injuries when we get back. Chu Kuangren glanced at him and said. He needed the Li family to manage the Sirius Star for him, and the Li family needed an expert to oversee it. After recovering from his injuries, the Li family's patriarch, who had returned to his peak, was undoubtedly the most suitable. Thank you. Elder Li's face was filled with joy. Everyone returned to the Li family. Not long after, the scattered disciples of the Li family returned one by one. In the courtyard of the Li family. It's all thanks to Brother Chu that the Li family can survive this crisis. Li Xuan cupped her fists and said to Chu Kuangren. Just remember our deal. Chu Kuangren said. Of course. Li Xuan nodded. In fact, it made no difference whether she agreed or not. Chu Kuangren could easily destroy the Li family and then establish another force on the Sirius Star. The result would be the same anyway. No one on the Sirius Star could stop him now. I'll stay on the Sirius Star for a while. During this time, I want the Sirius Star to have only one voice, Chu Kuangren said. He said it calmly and indifferently. However, the Li Xuan and Li Xuefei sisters were speechless. Chu Kuangren was planning to unify the entire Sirius Star. And the Li family was Chu Kuangren's puppet. We understand. The Li sisters nodded. They were a little excited. A puppet was a puppet. If they could unify the Sirius Star, the Li family would have a more glorious future. Not every force was qualified to be Chu Kuangren's puppet. After the Black Blood Syndicate was destroyed, the Li family quickly expanded outwards. With Chu Kuangren's treatment, the Li family's patriarch had recovered from his injuries. With the help of a late-stage Sky Lord and Chu Kuangren, who had devoured the Sirius Star's heavenly Tao, there was almost no resistance. Soon, all the Emperor-level orthodoxies on the Sirius Star were under the Li family's control. When everything was almost done, Chu Kuangren left the Sirius Star and headed to the astral disarray alone. According to legend, there was no order in that chaotic land. Chapter 898. In space, Chu Kuangren was heading towards the astral disorder ocean. At the same time, he was also taking stock of the various gains he had gained in the chaotic astral sea. Other than the celestial techniques, the Li clan's forbidden technique, and the wealth of the Black Blood Tower, the greatest gain was naturally the heavenly way of the Sirius Star. Over the past few days, the firmament star's heavenly Tao had been constantly digesting the Sirius Star's heavenly Tao, and the heavenly Tao within Chu Kuangren's body had also been growing stronger. This would allow him to become even more powerful in the unification Tao state in the future. Of course, that wasn't the biggest benefit. The strengthening of the firmament star's heavenly axiom would ultimately benefit the billions of living beings in the firmament star. Their cultivation would be much easier than before. This was something that would benefit the entire civilization. This trip to the Sirius Star has been fruitful. I wonder what kind of surprise the disordered astral ocean will give me this time. Chu Kuangren looked into the distance and said expectantly. According to the voyage, it would take some time for them to reach the chaotic astral sea. Chu Kuangren used this period of time to cultivate. He was comprehending the various immortal spells that he had learned. The celestial method was a method created by a celestial. Only the immortal energy of an immortal could fully unleash its power. Other than that, even a hollow immortal would not be able to fully unleash the power of an immortal art. Immortal energy is the power of immortals. Those below the immortal realm cannot control it. However, through the celestial method, one can comprehend the origin. Once one controls the complete origin power, it will be the day one condenses celestial core power and becomes an immortal. Chu Kuangren's three souls continued to gain insights into the immortal techniques. There were countless mysterious Tao patterns circulating around his body. It is indeed difficult. Chu Kuangren slowly opened his eyes. It was not easy to master the origin power through immortal methods. Even a first-rank immortal seed could not do it. Even with Chu Kuangren's talent, he could not do it in a short time. If immortal spells alone won't work, what about immortal physique? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up as he thought of something. He activated the moon immortal physique and used the immortal art to comprehend the power of origin. Soon, his consciousness gradually left his body. He once again entered the strange origin world. Within the origin world, Chu Kuangren's consciousness was wandering. Not long after, he arrived in front of an ice mountain. Unlike the other rapidly changing scenes, this ice mountain was clear and stable. Is it because of the immortal body? Sure enough, an immortal physique is helpful in comprehending the origin. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. He observed the ice mountain in front of him, trying to comprehend the origin within it. Not long after, Chu Kuangren opened his eyes, and his consciousness detached from the origin world. He opened his palm, and a chilling qi circulated in the center of his palm. That was no ordinary cold qi. Instead, it was the source energy of the cold Tao. With a thought, Chu Kuangren's lunar radiance origin power emerged as well. The two surges of origin power swirled around him with a dazzling brilliance that illuminated the world, making him look like an immortal. Unfortunately, no one saw this. Otherwise, they couldn't help but gasp in surprise. Two strands of origin energy, but what is this strange feeling? It was supposed to be a joyous occasion that he managed to refine another surge of origin energy, but Chu Kuangren could not help but frown. Regardless of whether it was the moonlight origin or the cold Tao origin, they were both able to greatly enhance his battle prowess. However, he could sense that, although these two essences were powerful, there was something that he couldn't quite put his finger on. Chu Kuangren looked at the origin energy in his hand and fell into deep thought. In the end, his eyes revealed a wisp of understanding. I see, the moonlight source and the frigid Tao source can indeed provide me with quite a bit of support. However, these two types of source are not my source energy. I must walk my own Tao and realize my own origin. My Tao is the Tao of self-improvement and invincibility. Then, what is my origin? Chu Kuangren murmured. He closed his eyes and tried to realize his own Tao. Using his immortal physique, his consciousness once again entered the origin world. He wanted to use his Tao to find the origin that belonged to him. However, a long time had passed, and he found nothing. In the origin world, he saw countless images of the origin energy flashing before his eyes, but none of the origin energy resonated with his Tao. This puzzled him. Every Tao had a corresponding origin. While his consciousness was wandering in the origin world, he even saw the immortal origin, universal cauldron physique, and godly phoenix physique that corresponded to the immortal origin, devouring origin, and flame origin. However, he still could not find the origin that corresponded to his Tao. His Tao did not have a corresponding origin. Did that not mean his path of cultivation had come to an end? At that thought, the bolder Taoist core that he had cultivated for many years could not help but tremble. For the first time, he felt terrified. No, this is impossible. How can this be? Do I have to give up on my Tao and walk another path to continue my cultivation? Then what about all my cultivation so far? Chu Kuangren fell into self-doubt. Or rather, a demonic hindrance. Chu Kuangren, who could face all kinds of strong enemies with ease, was facing a true cultivation crisis for the first time. If he could not overcome this demonic hindrance, he would suffer from qi deviation and would never be able to advance any further. If it was serious, he would die. In the past, Chu Kuangren had the bolder Taoist core, so he could remain calm no matter what he encountered. He had never encountered a demonic hindrance. This was the first time. Even the bolder Taoist core was useless now. 10 days passed. Chu Kuangren let the warship drift in the universe. He sat alone on the deck of the warship, struggling with the demonic hindrance. Ha! Suddenly, Chu Kuangren let out a chuckle. He slowly stood up and looked at the vast starry sky. Suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted from his body, causing the stars to tremble. My Tao is the Tao of self-improvement and invincibility. My goal is not to become an immortal, but to become invincible. I want to continuously surpass myself and surpass my limits. So what if I don't have a corresponding origin? Then I shall create an origin that belongs to me. With myself as the origin. Chu Kuangren's heart became more determined. He had overcome the demonic hindrance. At that moment, his bolder Taoist core had undergone a transformation. His originally indestructible Taoist core had completed a sublimation. From then on, nothing and nothing could shake him. At that moment, a throbbing sound came from the depths of the universe. That was the great Taoist will of the universe sensing the transformation of Chu Kuangren's Taoist core, and this transformation had reached a certain domain. In the universe, countless strong cultivators from countless galaxies sensed it. It's the extreme boundary. Someone has entered the extreme boundary. Who is it? The extreme boundary? What does it mean to enter the extreme boundary? Is it Tao or technique? Could it be the Taoist core? Chu Kuangren did not know that after he had overcome the demonic hindrance, his Taoist core had entered the extreme boundary that even immortals dreamed of. After overcoming the demonic hindrance, Chu Kuangren continued to gain insights into the origin. After using the immortal physique to gain insights into the frost chi origin, Chu Kuangren tried using other physiques that were as strong as the immortal physique to gain insights into the origin. After realizing that it was feasible, he began to gain insights into other origins. If other cultivators were to find out about this, they would be extremely shocked. The origin was difficult to gain insights into. Even the immortal seed would not be able to gain any insights even after spending an endless amount of effort. However, Chu Kuangren could easily gain insights into the origin by using different physiques. Chapter 899. The flame origin is done. Chu Kuangren opened his palm, revealing a ball of golden red flames. That was the flame origin that he had learned from the godly phoenix physique. Unlike ordinary fire origin power, this fire origin power was wild and aggressive. This was the flames of the divine phoenix. Perhaps it would be more appropriate to call it the godly phoenix flame origin. Even if it was the same origin, there would still be subtle differences due to different cultivation techniques, people, Taoism, or other conditions. The godly phoenix physique's flame origin was obviously stronger than the flame origin that ordinary cultivators could learn. In addition to the moonlight origin, frost origin, and devouring origin that I previously learned, I now have 4 origin powers. Chu Kuangren murmured and smiled in satisfaction. The immortal physique is comparable to the immortal physique. It won't take long for me to learn the immortal origin. It's a shame that the other physiques aren't immortal physiques. Learning the origin through these physiques is 1,000 times more difficult than learning the immortal techniques. Chu Kuangren shook his head. Perhaps he could find the immortal techniques that corresponded with these physiques and combine them with the immortal techniques to learn the corresponding origin powers. But not now. Learning the origin powers through physiques. Perhaps this is the mystery of the Book of Physique. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. Aside from the Spirit of Omniscience and the Lucky Halo, the remaining two supreme God-grade items, the Book of Physique and the Time-Space Mirror, still had many mysteries that he had yet to fully understand. It was worth his time to continue studying them. Boom, boom, at that moment, a few energy beams blasted towards them from afar. The beams blasted onto the warship's defensive light barrier. Chu Kuangren squinted his eyes and looked towards the source of the energy beams. He saw a few warships flying towards them. On those warships were cultivators of different races. There were beasts and humans. Interstellar bandits? Chu Kuangren could tell who they were. It seemed that he had entered the disordered galaxy's territory. Kid, this is the frenzied sand bandits' territory. If you want to live, leave your valuables behind. One of the bandits on one of the warships said loudly. Chu Kuangren did not reply. With a flick of his mind power, tens of thousands of spiritual weapons gathered and floated in the starry sky. Then, with a boom, they shot toward the crowd. Bang bang bang, as the spirit force weapons fell, the battleships exploded one after another. The galactic bandits didn't even have time to react to what had happened. F***CK. This is a tough nut to crack. Quick, run. Go back and inform the boss. The expressions of the interstellar pirates changed drastically. Following that, a few battleships turned around and left. Chu Kuangren did not continue to chase after them. Instead, he captured a few bandits. Sir, please spare my life. We had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Sir, please spare us. Just treat us as farts and let us go. A few bandits knelt in front of Chu Kuangren, kowtowing and begging for mercy. It's not impossible for me to spare you. First, tell me about the situation in the chaotic Star Sea and what forces there are. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The bandits looked at each other in dismay. Then, they spilled everything they knew in exchange for a chance to live. In the chaotic astral ocean, there were countless bandits. However, there were only 3 that truly occupied the leading positions. They were the Skywind Bandits, the Wild Sand Bandits, and the Fire Devil Bandits. The ones who came to rob Chu Kuangren this time were the Frenzied Sand Bandits. However, they were just ordinary bandits from the Wild Sand Bandits. Among the 3 major bandit forces, the Skywind Bandits were the strongest. Their leader, the Skywind Bandit King, was also known as the Bandit King. The other 2 major bandit forces had to work together to fight against him. Have you heard of the Black Blood Hall Master? Chu Kuangren asked. I've heard of him. He's the king of assassins. He's very famous. I heard that he's a top-notch heavenly Dao master, one of the bandits said. Do you guys know that he's recently come to the chaotic astral ocean? I'm not sure about that. Chu Kuangren looked at the uneasy bandits in front of him with a thoughtful look in his eyes. It was as if he was plotting something. Kid, let my people go and hand over the money. If you do that, I'll grant you a quick death. At that moment, a cold voice suddenly rang out. A bandit clad in armor and wielding a long spear rushed up and stared coldly at Chu Kuangren. Third leader. It's the third leader. The few bandits who were captured by Chu Kuangren were overjoyed. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren glanced at the third leader. The man's cultivation level was not bad. He was a peak Daoist master, but his combat strength was no match for Chu Kuangren's. Third leader, you might have some power. Chu Kuangren murmured. The third leader frowned. He did not know what Chu Kuangren meant, but he snorted coldly and rushed out with his long spear. With a thrust of his long spear, a large amount of Emperor's Qi and Daoist patterns gushed out. Chu Kuangren gently raised his hand. Boom! The Emperor's Qi and Daoist patterns were instantly shattered into pieces. Chu Kuangren then grabbed the long spear in his hand. With a tug, the third leader lost control of his body and flew forward. What terrifying strength! The third leader's expression changed. In the next second, a fist enlarged in front of his eyes. With a bang, Third head's face was smashed by this punch. His nose was crooked and his eyes were slanted. His entire face almost caved in. Before he could even scream, the third leader had already fallen to the ground. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. The bandits around him were dumbfounded. That was the third leader of the frenzied sand bandits. How could a Taoist master be knocked out with a single punch? Were they dreaming? After Chu Kuangren knocked out the third leader with a punch, he stepped on his head and said to the rest of the bandits, "Go back and tell your boss that if he wants to keep his life, he should come find me here." The bandits looked at each other. What's going on? Not running away, but asking their leader to look for him. However, since Chu Kuangren had said so, they would not let go of this chance to live. Hence, they scrambled out of the place. In the frenzied sand bandits' territory. The leader of the frenzied sand bandits, the frenzied sand bandit king, was currently hugging a few voluptuous beauties and groping them. In front of him were boxes of spirit marrow treasures. These were all things that he had just snatched back. Leader, something's wrong. Something's happened to the third leader. At that moment, a bandit rushed in and said anxiously. The frenzied sand bandit king frowned. What happened? The bandit then told him everything that happened to Chu Kuangren. Oh, he injured the third leader and still wants me to look for him. What's his background? The frenzied sand bandit king was puzzled. Next to him, a man carrying a giant axe sneered. Perhaps it's another young prodigy who came from God knows where to gain experience here, using the slogan of getting rid of the scourge of the people as an excuse to step on us. This person was the frenzied sand bandit's second in command. What he said wasn't something rare either. The disordered Star Ocean was filled with bandits and was extremely dangerous. It would often become a training ground for the newly born Skyprides. Some of the arrogant Skyprides also wanted to kill a few famous bandits here to make a name for themselves. Unfortunately, most of these people were leaks for the frenzied sand bandits. But this time, even the third leader was no match for him. It looks like he's not an ordinary Skypride. I'm afraid he's an immortal seed. That's even better. Let's tie him up. This way, we can exchange quite a lot of spirit marrow treasures from the forces behind him. The second in command laughed. In the disordered Star Ocean, they were not afraid of anyone. Even forces like the Purple Star and Gold Star would have to avoid them. Alright, let's go have a look then. I'd like to see who's so daring. The frenzied sand bandit king nodded. Chapter 900. Chaos Astral Sea, somewhere in the starry sky. Chu Kuangren was sitting with his legs crossed, quietly waiting for the frenzied sand pirate king and the others. Beside him, the third elder leader who had been knocked out by Chu Kuangren slowly regained consciousness. He looked around in confusion before he seemed to have thought of something and looked at Chu Kuangren who was not too far away. Who was this person? He didn't even have the strength to fight back. Could it be a master of the heavenly law? He stared at Chu Kuangren suspiciously. Who are you? Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren said calmly. He had some matters to settle with the frenzied sand bandits, so he did not need to hide his identity. Chu Kuangren, upon hearing that name, the third elder's pupils shrank slightly. He stared at Chu Kuangren with an obvious look of shock in his eyes. Poetic Sword God, Chu Kuangren. Evidently, even though he was in the chaotic Star Ocean, he still knew about the famous Poetic Sword God. Exactly. What are you doing in the chaotic Astral Sea? You'll know soon enough. Chu Kuangren did not explain too much. Suddenly, he sensed several powerful auras rushing toward him from nearby. There were even 2 heavenly law lords among them. The frenzied sand bandits have quite a strong foundation. I can't believe they have 2 heavenly Taoist masters in their ranks. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up as he said. In the Purple Gold Galaxy, the Lord of the Heaven Law was already one of the strongest experts. Hundreds of warships flew over and surrounded the place where Chu Kuangren was. The 2 people leading them were the heavenly Tao masters that Chu Kuangren had sensed earlier. They were also the leader and second-in-command of the frenzied sand bandits. Big brother, second brother, this person is the poetic sword god, Chu Kuangren. The third-in-command activated his emperor's thought and sent a voice transmission to the frenzied sand pirate king. Chu Kuangren naturally noticed his little trick, but he did not care. On the other hand, the pupils of the frenzied sand pirate king and the second head shrank slightly when they heard this. Their faces immediately turned solemn. Poetic sword god, it's actually him. Rumor has it that this person could kill the Lord of the Heavenly Law. He killed 4 lords of the Heavenly Law in the Battle of Xinyue Ancient City. His combat power is extremely terrifying. This is troublesome. Both of them arrived in the air above Chu Kuangren. Based on their personalities, they would have attacked immediately to take down this person who had offended them. However, when they heard that it was Chu Kuangren, they did not dare to act rashly. What brings the poetic sword celestial to the chaos astral sea? Frenzied Sand Pirate King asked. Cooperate. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Everyone was stunned when they heard that. Cooperation? How could they cooperate with the poetic sword fairy? Poetic sword fairy, please clarify. I want to unite all the bandits in the disordered astral ocean and make them work for me. It's too troublesome to do it step by step, so I might as well work with the frenzied sand bandits directly, Chu Kuangren said calmly. Does the poetic sword celestial mean to cooperate with us to unify the chaos star ocean? The frenzied sand pirate king was taken aback. Yes. What is your purpose in doing this? Destroy Purple Star. Chu Kuangren said bluntly. Not bad. He had thought about it on the way here. Destroying the entire Purple Star civilization was not a simple task, so he needed help. The countless bandits of the chaotic star ocean were a force that could not be underestimated, and if they could be united, even Purple Star would have to fear them. What? He wants to destroy Purple Star. I heard that Chu Kuangren has a feud with Purple Star. He once challenged Purple Star, but I didn't expect him to be this crazy. It can't be. Purple Star isn't something that can be destroyed so easily. Everyone was discussing among themselves. They were all shocked by Chu Kuangren. The frenzied sand pirate king pondered for a while. Destroying Purple Star is too far-fetched. We won't do it. I suggest you look for other forces. Now, please let my third brother go. Ha, when I find you, do you think you have any other choice? Chu Kuangren chuckled. The frenzied sand pirate king's expression changed. Poetic sword fairy, what do you mean? Are you trying to force us? You have 2 choices. Chu Kuangren raised 2 fingers and said, 1, cooperate with me. I'll help you become the ruler of the Chaos Star Ocean. After destroying Purple Star, you can bring Purple Star's wealth back here. 2, Chu Kuangren smiled coldly. I'll destroy all the frenzied sand pirates here, then I'll look for others. The frenzied sand pirate king's expression turned ugly. Was Chu Kuangren cooperating with them? What kind of cooperation was that? Chu Kuangren, don't you dare go too far. The frenzied sand pirate king's expression turned gloomy. So what if I do? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Alright, Chu Kuangren. It's not like I can't cooperate with you. As long as you can defeat me, I'll do whatever you want. The frenzied sand pirate king knew that a battle was destined to happen today. He took a step forward and took out a long spear. There were mysterious yellow light patterns circulating on the spear. It was a heavenly weapon. You should have done this a long time ago. Chu Kuangren said. He leaped into the air and said, it's not difficult to defeat you. Both of you, come at me together. The other person was naturally the other Sky Lord. Arrogant. The frenzied sand pirate second-in-command snorted. In a flash, he appeared above Chu Kuangren and swung the giant axe in his hand. The axe was so powerful that it could even split the stars in half. However, Chu Kuangren did not retreat. Instead, he slowly reached out and grabbed the blade of the axe with his jade-white palm. Boom! A shockwave rolled out. Chu Kuangren's body did not move an inch. The axe was easily caught in his hand. Is this all you've got, frenzied sand pirate second in command? Chu Kuangren said with a hint of mockery in his eyes. D*MN. The second in command's expression darkened. He had pushed his emperor's chi to its limit. There were Taoist patterns circulating on the blade of the axe, but it still could not hurt Chu Kuangren. At that moment, the frenzied sand pirate king also made his move. He was much stronger than the second in command and was very close to becoming a sky lord. With a thrust of the spear, a large amount of flames wrapped around the spear and turned into a ferocious fiery python. Chu Kuangren exerted strength in his arm and flung the second in command away. Then, he cast an immortal technique. Rise with a thought. With a thought, the myriad frosty mist was unleashed. The immortal physique's frosty chi roared out, and within the frosty chi, there was even frost origin energy. The giant fiery python was instantly frozen. The frenzied sand pirate king was hit by the frosty chi. Although he blocked it with his flames in time, a layer of frost still formed on his body. What a terrifying frosty chi! Is this the true strength of the poetic sword sage? The frenzied sand pirate king's expression changed slightly. He let out a long roar, and a large amount of flames burst out from his body, illuminating the entire universe. Amazing, Empyrean fiery dragon! The flames turned into a dancing fiery dragon in midair. The fiery dragon roared and its aura shook the universe. Then, it swooped down towards Chu Kuangren. Not far away, the second in command who was flung away steadied himself. With a roar, he raised his giant axe high and swung it down. The giant axe shadow came crashing down on Chu Kuangren. Two powerful attacks, one from the front and the other from the back, were coming at him. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back. His white robe was peerless, and there were Taoist patterns circulating on his body. Facing the attacks, he looked calm as if he did not care at all. Rise with a thought, all shall be silent, heaven and earth shall die. The phoenix flames, frosty chi, and emperor's chi erupted at the same time, turning into purplish-red light waves that spread outwards. The axe shadow was shattered, and the fiery dragon disappeared. The frenzied sand pirate king and the second in command suffered the impact and were sent flying while spitting out blood.